The history of sports car and motorsport racing runs deep here at the WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca. For so long, this tight, twisty and technical circuit has been challenging the best in the world on four and indeed on two wheels. It's a circuit that demands concentration. It's a circuit that demands perfection, because just off the hard standing of the track surface there be problems, and those problems are the gravel traps and the sandy soil around the 2.23 mile circuit with 11 corners just off the coast inland from Monterey on the way to Salinas. And the names tell you all you need to know: Andretti, Rahal, Rainey, and of course the corkscrew. Known the world over, whether you've driven it in real life or whether you've only done it on a video game or a simulator, you know it is there to catch out the unwary. And today, for 2 hours and 40 minutes, the teams, drivers, and the tyres and cars of the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship will be taking that challenge for lap after lap after lap. Hello everybody, and welcome to our live coverage from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. My name's John Hindorf, and joining me in the Full Performance Global Broadcast Centre, Ryan Marine. Down on the grid, which is actually the pit lane, is our junior counterparty, our CrowdStrike pit lane reporter. Let's get straight down to him for a little bit of the atmosphere. The pit lane was absolutely jam-packed no more than 4 or 5 minutes ago, and it's been a feat of logistics and respect from the fans, our junior, to get that cleared. We're ready to go.
Absolutely, I can breathe down on pit lane again. Fans have been, for the most part, moved over to the grandstands on the main straightaway where WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca is doing a handful of giveaways to open up this race. But John, the field is resplendent on pit lane right now. The sun is shining. There's not a lick of cloud in the sky, much like we have seen for the entirety of the weekend. These are perfect racing conditions for us to go racing for the first 2 hours and 40-minute race of the season.
That's a good point that our junior makes there, Ryan, because we've had the Rolex 24 at Daytona, we've had the Mobile 1 12 Hours of Sebring, we've had 100 minutes on the streets of Long Beach. We come to our fourth different style of circuit with a natural terrain road course, and our fourth different venue with a different duration, should I say, of the races. You've got to think that some of our teams might not know whether they're punched, countersunk or bored at the moment, but they will have to get their heads round it, because there's no time to make up for any mistakes here.
No, just 2 hours and 40 minutes. This is a track that comes at you fast and furious as well. You've got to be ready to roll with the punches as this race develops. But you talk about this track, what a classic this is. Opened in 1957, 180 feet of elevation change around a single lap. You drop about 5.5 stories in the corkscrew alone. That's driving this place by yourself. What a challenge that is. Then you throw in all of the competitors, the multi-class aspect of this. This is going to be a jam-packed race full of fun and excitement. Can't wait to get started.
We'll bring you all of the action on the track in the pit lane. We want you to contribute as well at IMSA Radio on X, on Twitter. Hello to Tony and James back in the UK. Winding up what has been a beautiful weekend weather-wise. Quite a bit of sports car and motorsport going on here at RSL and our networks with the WEC, the Nürburgring Langstrecke Series, but Sunday belongs to the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. Hello to James O'Donnell. What a brilliant race to conclude a stellar weekend of motorsport. Good to have you on board as well, James. Whether you're on RS2 around the world, whether you're listening here at the track or you're on Sirius XM 206 around North America, and of course on the free live video as well for those of you outside the USA. Good to have your company. Settle back. I hope you've got some snacks. I hope you're ready get onto the IMSA timing for that second, third or fourth screen experience. Search IMSA Alcamel timing, and that will give you all of the information that we've got here in the Ford Performance Global Broadcast Centre. At the front of the field, Dries van Tor continues what has been a simply stellar qualifying performance for 2025. He has yet to be toppled from pole position. 4 events, 4 different circuits, 4 pole positions. This time, just 0.005 of a second separated him from the Porsche Penske Motorsport pairing of Matt Campbell and Felipe Nasr. There's a story with that number 7 car that starts in 3rd position because it's not been headed at the checkered flag in the 4 races so far, the 3 races, excuse me, so far this season. Streaks are made to be broken. The pole position streak continues. Will the finishing streak also be intact in 2 hours and 40 minutes or so's time? In the GT class of the GT Pros lining up ahead of the GTDs, that's a new mandated regulation for 2025. That means all 10 of the red number squared cars are ahead of the rest of the GTDs with green. And that means as well that things could get a bit spicy early on, because only half of those cars were quicker than Kenton Cook for quarter competition in the Mercedes. He'll start 22nd. Had he been gridded on his time, he would have started 14th, with only Dan Harper for Paul Miller Racing and Giacomo Altoe for Dragon Speed, the pole sitter in GTD in the Ferrari, ahead of him. So keep an eye further back down the field as well when we come to the green flag. Before we go racing, let's bring back our CrowdStrike pit lane reporter, and that's Arjuna. Question I always have to ask Arjuna: have we got a clear pit lane? Is there anyone who's starting from the pit lane, or are you in elegant isolation?
Elegant isolation, only interrupted by the rumble of the engines as they make their way down the pit straight. All of the GTD Pros and GTD cars are out on track and getting the heat into their Michelin tires right now, weaving back and forth as heavily as they can, John. We're moments away from the start of the race.
Pacing the field, a Porsche Cayman GT4, which those of you with a bit of a memory might just go, hang on a minute, I recognise that livery. And you'd be absolutely right. Porsche have been named as the official car of WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca just this week, and as part of the celebrations of that partnership, the pace car out front is a Porsche, and it's also carrying the classic American Le Mans Series IMSA livery of Porsche Penske Motorsport and the DHL sponsored Spider, the yellow and red machine. Peter Mackay, one of our colleagues here at RSL, has just written the definitive history on the open-topped LMP2, as it was, Porsche Spider. It'll be being released in the next month or so, and I know he would be absolutely delighted to see that car going around and pacing the field at the moment. In fact, I'm sure that Peter is probably watching back up in beautiful Perth in Scotland. Hello to him and to Lucy, and indeed to all of our Radio Show Limited team for the weekend. Now, we've already done 6 hours of the WEC at the classic event at Spa. Thank you, Johnny and Bruce. Andy Prior was with me for the NLS 4 hours there, and now we turn our concentration and our attention to 2 hours and 40 minutes for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. Split grid, green flag, we're racing, and the 2 hours and 40 minutes starts right now, and a jump into the lead for Dries van Tor for the BMW M Hybrid V8. Both of the Porsches coming very quickly. There's 3 wide going through turn 2, the Andretti hairpin. I've not seen that before, as Matt Campbell and Felipe Nasr trying to put pressure on the leader. Here comes the GTD Pros and the GTDs. Giacomo Altoe in that very distinctive yellow Ferrari with the purple stars on it, the rhubarb and custard car, as I have been calling it all weekend, has held on to the lead, but round the outside, a fast starting Dan Harper in the Paul Miller BMW is making the best of his front row start and trying to get to the lead as they head through turn 4 and up towards turn 5. Quick cars in behind these GTD pros. Watch out for the caught off Mercedes and Kenton Cook as he's trying to pick his way through. Looks like he is right on the tail of Aaron Tielitz in the Lexus, one of the GTD Pro cars, as they head through turn 5 and 6 and up to the top of the hill up the Rahal Straight, and already one of the Mustangs is off. It's Fred Favish, who was qualified in 7th in GTD Pro. An untidy start for him at the front of the field. Dries Van Tor leads, but not by much. The two Porsches are trying to keep him honest at the moment as the GTD Pro battle heads towards the final corner for the first lap. The two Corvettes running together. Nicky Katzberg's moved up through the field. Actually, it's Klaus Bachler who's moved up through the field in the EO Racing Porsche as they go across the line. BMW number 24, Dries Van Tor from the two PPM Porsches. Nasser from Campbell, Tom Blomqvist next up. So two Porsches, a BMW, and the first of the Acuras in 4th position. In GTD Pro, Dragon Speed Ferrari, Paul Miller BMW, Klaus Bachler for Porsche and for EO Racing, then Nicky Katzberg and Alexander Sims for Corvette. Kenton Cook has held on to top position in the GTD category ahead of Vassar, Sullivan Racing's Parker Thompson, who's made a good start, as has Winwood Racing's Russell Ward. I'm going to take a breath and go and lie down in a darkened room for the next hour, because that was a very exciting first couple of laps. Ryan Marine, great start for Dries Van Tor.
Certainly, he's already pulled out a lead over the pursuing Porsche Penske 963s of a second and a half. Now, crucially, the two Penskes have swapped positions, so it's the championship leading and undefeated number 7 now, ahead of the number 6 that Matt Campbell had qualified on the front row. We had that heart-in-your-mouth moment where the top 3 were all 3 wide momentarily in the Andretti hairpin, but everyone was able to continue on. One other note, in GTD, Alec Udell qualified 2nd. He's been shuffled back to 4th for DXDT Racing. That's promoted Parker Thompson up to 2nd place in class. Really good start for the Vassar Sullivan Racing Lexus team.
Penalty, and I said in our Porsche keys to the race, you can't afford penalties here. Column change prior to the start of the race. That will be a drive-through for Dan Harper, Paul Miller Racing. So that great start has been negated. Get into the pit lane quickly. We saw yesterday in the Michelin Pilot Challenge race, no spoilers if you're doing catch-up this weekend, and I would understand if you are, because there's been so much going on. But without giving too much away, Ryan, penalties played a part in that race yesterday, but serving the penalties early will really work well, because there was a few incidents that neutralised the race and effectively made those penalties non-existent.
Exactly. That's what we saw yesterday. If you have that penalty and you take it early, then that gives you a chance to take advantage of yellows if they come. That one was pretty clear. You have to stay in your column up through the start-finish line. Once you cross the start-finish line on the initial start, you can change columns. Harper from the outside of the front row very clearly did change columns before that start line. So that was an easy call for race control. Harper now down the pit lane, serving that penalty, dropping him out of 2nd place in class.
Already into the pit lane, off the pit lane speed limit and by the Mission Foods bridge, but you have to stay to driver's left and rejoin at the exit of turn 2. And with everybody so close together at the early part of the race, that's dropped him all the way back to 36th position behind Ori Fadani in the AWA Corvette. Not the start they were wanting to, particularly after such a good, what appeared to be such a good and a competitive start from Dan Harper. Just that slight error at the start of the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the track Benz coming to the start line there, but you have to know the rules, and that one was really clear. He actually came and chopped off the nose of one of the Corvettes, it looked like, as well, and there was very nearly contact between the two of them on that pit stretch. So that could have definitely ended a lot worse. And again, the rules are super clear. On that initial start, you can't change column. He was just trying to get settled in and go single file, and you certainly understand why he'd feel that way, but unfortunately they were caught out by that, and that drops them to the back of the field.
Let's take our first CrowdStrike pit report of the races, Arjuna.
Just a quick note on another one of the GTD teams that is having to fight their way from the back of the field. Heart of Racing in the number 27. Casper Stevenson actually set the third fastest lap in yesterday's qualifying session. And a technical infringement discovered after that in the scrutineer dropped them to the back of the field, John. So they're having to fight their way forward. And right now, not the only one of the GTD machines having to do that.
Alec Udell sets the fastest lap of the GTD race in 4th place for DXDT. What a couple of events they've had. Alec, in that car, it was, if you remember, Robert Wickens last time out had Tommy Milner with him, but obviously Tommy's doing his day job this weekend because there was no GTD Pro on the streets of Long Beach. So Alec drafted in, did the qualifying, Ryan, and did a very good job in qualifying, so good that he's starting the race. It'll be Robert who takes that car over at the pit stops.
He did, and that was a late call. We had actually heard initially from GMPR that Robert Wickens would qualify, and just as they rolled out, we saw it was a different name on the entry or on the timing and scoring page. So they did put Udell in. He knows this car extremely well. Of course, did Daytona and Sebring with DXDT, and he actually raced this same Corvette, albeit on a different tire, for DXDT last year in another championship. So he's got the seat time in it, he knows the team well, and it makes for a plug-and-play option in terms of looking to see who to draft in alongside Robert Wickens for these sprint races.
At the front of the field, it is still that BMW of Dries Vanthoor, holding at about a second or just under, a 1:15.217. We were down in the 12s for qualifying. I don't think we expected that in the race, Ryan. The race lap record was a 1:14.196 last year, and we're already knocking on just a second away from that. That was Sebastian Bourdais in a Cadillac. So we're not a million miles from that already, and these are heavy cars at the start of the race.
Yeah, still 85% energy in the virtual fuel tank for pretty much all of the GTP cars at this point. And now, John, they've caught the back of the GTD field, and the lapping begins. This is going to be the lot in life for all of these drivers, really, the rest of the way, barring any interruptions for yellows. It's a short lap, it's a fast lap, and there's going to be quite a bit of overlap between the classes. That was crucial in the race here last year. It dictated two of the classes in the final 15 minutes or so.
So the next big challenge for Dries Vanthoor will be when he hits the back of the field. And at the moment, he is coming up to the back of the GTD field. That's what's right ahead of him. So he goes through turn 5, and he's already actually put a couple of cars in between himself and the chasing Porsches. Ori Fadani, Sheena Monk, trying to see if Dan Harper's gone a lap back as well after that drive through the pit lane for coming out of line at the start of the race. Yeah, he has. So now mired in the GT traffic, and that's the opportunity for the two Porsche Penske Motorsport 963s. Felipe Nasr has passed his teammate Matt Campbell, and he's going for the lead. The undefeated pole sitter for 2025 against the undefeated team at the checkered flag as they carve their way past Misha Goikberg in the number 78 Forte, the blue, metallic blue Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2 through turn number 3. Top 3 together as if they were linked with an invisible bungee cord. Oh, mistake from Campbell. Got his left-hand side Michelin's on the dirt coming through turn 4. Who can say they haven't done that when they've been pushing on a lap in virtual reality around here? Adam Adelson with his hands full in the number 120 Wright Motorsports green and yellow Porsche, as he has the 2 GTP Porsches go past him up the rear hull straight and to the top of the hill to the corkscrew. This is where concentration has to be absolutely paramount from the drivers who are doing the passing, but also, Ryan Marine, the ones who are being passed.
Oh, absolutely. It's a challenge on both ends. In some respects, I think it's harder to be in the slower class because you're always looking in the mirror. At least when you're in the top class, unless you're in a battle, you're just looking forward. And there's an art form to this, John. We talk about it a lot. It's the art of passing, but also of being passed. If you're in one of the GT cars here, there's ways of positioning your car in a way that tells the pursuing prototype, hey, not now, don't compromise my race, and let's do this at a time and a place of my choosing. And you can get away with that early in the race. Maybe later on you'll see the prototypes pushing the issue. And again, that's something we saw late in the race last year that had implications for both prototypes and GTs alike.
Just a moment or two ago, very close to contact from the Acura number 93 of Nick Yellowlees. He was coming past one of the Paul Miller Racing BMWs. Somehow they didn't touch, but that could have got a little bit nasty. It's so tight here. Our Porsche keys to the race: pick your passes in traffic. There are places, Ryan, where you do have to, dare I say it, have just a little bit of patience, which is not I'll say this without any fear or favour, and hope I don't upset anybody. That is not a commodity which racing drivers are well known for.
No, it comes with the territory, I think, to be a little bit impatient if you want to be a racing driver. But it was really interesting in our Michelin Countdown to Green, hearing from Kenton Cook, who's leading in the GTD class, about certain sections of the track where these GT cars actually are a little bit quicker through the slower corners. They make more mechanical grip than the prototypes, and they have to be patient and wait on the prototypes. Usually you think of the faster car having to be patient and picking your spots to get through the slower traffic, but kind of like this moment right here, Kenton just had to sit and wait at apex, and it was uncomfortable to watch. I can't imagine what it was like for Kenton behind the wheel.
It's the voice of Ryan Marine as Kenton gets past, goes down the inside of Madison Snow on the left as they go through the corkscrew. That's a pass for GT position, but they are in different classes. But a stark illustration there of the lack of pace of the GTD Pro Class BMW, running under the same BOP as an M4 GT3 if it was in the standard GTD class. The difference being just the driver categorizations. Right, let's pick up some thoughts from the pit lane. I'm CrowdStrike pit lane reporter this weekend, Arjuna Kankapati, and he is standing by in the sunshine.
I'm standing by with the Vassar Sullivan pit box as well. I've got Jack Hawksworth with me. Of course, that car's currently in second place right now, pushing hard, but we know strategy is something that you guys have got to be thinking about. What's going through your mind watching your teammate deal with all this traffic?
Well, I mean, first off, that was an unbelievable start from 6th place to 1st, and I was a drop back to 2nd, but amazing job from PT then, just sent it around the outside. We talked about it before the race. I said, the outside's probably a bit risky, but he sent it and it worked, so that was awesome. Obviously now we're settling in, and it's a long race, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Obviously, right now everybody's kind of feeling each other out, and yeah, we'll see where we play out.
I know that the team came and tested. I don't think you came and tested a month or so ago. But what have you learned in the last year with the changes in the surface? We've talked a lot about the repaving and the evolution in the track over the last 12 months.
Well, I mean, I came and tested here. Yeah, sorry, I can't really hear what you're saying. Yes, we came and tested here. The surface has got older, so more degradation than last year, more towards like the old circuit. But yeah, more tire deg, and that's going to make it a little bit more difficult towards the end of the stints. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Jack Hawksworth, his usual straight-talking style. A bit like that behind the steering wheel as well. Our other Porsche keys to the race, by the way, we said no penalties and pick your passes. Tactically, you have to be flexible here. The tyres will play a part, as will track position. Saw in the racing yesterday in the Michelin Pilot Challenge, not give any spoilers away, not everybody may have seen that as yet, but it is possible to defend here even if you've got quite a bit of a performance deficit to the cars around you. And Ryan, if that comes down to it at the end of the race, we might see people maybe only take 2 tyres, short fill on VP Racing fuel, just to get that track position on a sprint to the checkered flag in somewhere around 2 hours and 23 minutes time.
Yeah, we saw Porsche Penske do that last year. It helped them gain some track position, and it worked. That never would have worked on the old surface, which was world-renowned for chewing through tires. It was just about the most abrasive surface you could imagine. That went away with the repave, of course, but what's interesting is it's almost been universal. Everyone we've talked to has been talking about how quickly this surface is migrating back to the way the track used to be, and where exactly on that spectrum the track is now from a tire wear perspective is a bit of an unknown. And so the teams will be keeping an eye on their tire wear here early in the race to see if maybe that is a gamble worth taking to get the track position, but maybe compromise your ultimate pace on older tires, trying to double stint or something along those lines, and hope that you can hold on. As you say, this is a track where you can be defensive and be able to hold folks behind you that might have a pace advantage.
The engine you can hear is that of the V8 twin turbo of the unbeaten number 7 squad for Porsche Penske Motorsport, Felipe Nasr. A little speck in front of him is Dries Vanthoor, and the gap is 2.6 seconds. It's pretty much the whole of the straight between turns 3 and 4, and about half the straight between 4 and 5 as the BMW disappears up the hill. The Porsche just running out of the red and white curbs. Leader is through turn 6. Second place now, hitting that undulation as you go through turn 6. Further back down the field, Sheldon von der Linde for BMW Team RLL is 8.1 seconds behind his teammate. I get the feeling, and no names, no pack drill, but I have spoken to a couple of the teams, I get the feeling there's going to be, after that first stanza of activity and flurry of argumentative behaviour on the track, a little bit of aggression there, Ryan, I think we might see a bit of fuel saving in this first stint to just open up that tactical window. It's going to be round about 48 to 50 minutes, we think, is where we're going to get. And we've got, of course, 160 minutes to run today. So that doesn't quite divide on how it goes. It's going to be a 2 and a bit pit stop race. Where the bit is and how long it is actually the question that nobody up and down the pit lane actually knows at the moment, and that's where the fun is for us.
And they wouldn't tell us if we asked either, and you can't blame them for that. But to your point, we're looking at the virtual fuel tank right now, and we're roughly a third of the way through the tank here. So we've run 20 minutes, so that tells us you can actually get pretty close to an hour if that's to be believed. I'm looking at 66% remaining in the virtual tank for the top 2 cars, so that's, you know, 2/3 remaining in that tank. We're 20 minutes into the race, so that gives them a little more wiggle room. And I think you're right, though, that we have seen the pace back off a little bit. We saw that initial flurry of some aggression early on. We saw Felipe Nasser maybe make a run at Dries Vanthoor early on in this stint, but subsequently he has settled down, and he does have a slight energy advantage over Vanthoor in front of him. And what does that do? Maybe it lets you go a lap longer. Maybe it lets you do a short fill during a stop. These are some of these strategic flexibility tools that we've been talking about that could be so important.
Yeah, but look at the lap times though, Ryan. 1:16.0 for the leader last time around. All right, that's traffic dependent as well. 1:15s and 1:16s throughout the GTP, the lead prototype field. We know that those cars can go 3 seconds at least quicker than that. So someone like Tom Blomqvist in that blue and white and teal number 60 Acura coming down the final corner now, he has got a little bit of clear track ahead of him. So let's see what his time is this time as he comes across the line. And he stops the clock with a 1:15.8. His best is a 1:15.3. I don't think we're seeing the best out of these cars yet. The track temperature, all right, it's 113 Fahrenheit, 45 Celsius, but we saw some of that and more during qualifying yesterday. It was hotter than that. So I think there's performance in hand here from the GTP cars at the very least.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was definitely warmer than this during qualifying yesterday. So could this be fuel conservation, tire conservation, maybe a little bit of both, and also just settling into a rhythm, working through some of this traffic? Now, Fred Vesti just set his car's fastest lap of the race, so at least someone out there is pushing.
Bit of contact, Paul Miller Racing. That is Madison Snow, who's added a bit of aerodynamic assistance to the right-hand side of his BMW M4 GT4. I think he took that off the back of one of the Corvettes. So I'm not sure what all that was about. He's actually pitted to have that removed. And they're putting on some new Michelin Pilot Sports. Car is down. That's super early. I presume that was to take that. Oh no, that might have been a damaged tyre. They're having a good look at the rim from the right rear of Madison Snow's car. They have removed the extra aerodynamic accoutrement from the front end. And what has not been a good weekend for the number 1 Paul Miller Racing BMW is not getting any better as Madison rejoins. You might look at that though and say, well, he's off strategy. Now they've got to play the cards that they've got, Ryan, and see if that comes back to them at some stage. If they do get a yellow, they'll need less fuel, so they'll be standing still fewer seconds, and they might be able to cycle back through the field.
That's what they'll have to hope for, that in some way they can play this back into their favor, but it's going to take some luck. Frankly, that team needed some luck to begin with. As you pointed out, that side of the garage has struggled from Paul Miller Racing. The sister car qualified up towards the front at the first couple of rows, but this car all weekend has not had the pace for whatever reason. It's always strange when that happens, when one half of a 2-car team is up towards the front and the other is nowhere to be found. So they really needed this race to go pretty conservatively and cleanly, and then maybe take advantage of some strategy to begin with. This really has them on the back foot now.
Let's take a look at the classes in our VP Racing updates. GTD still led by Kenton Cook, got about half a second. Just put his fastest lap of the race in, a 1:22.687. That's just a couple of ticks of the clock slower than Parker Thompson's fastest overall lap of the GTD class, 1:22.6. He sits in behind. Got another 6/10 between himself and third place Russell Ward for Winwood Racing in the 57 blue Mercedes AMG. Alec Udell for DXDT in the blue and black Chevrolet Corvette number 36 is a second further back and making up the top 6. Mike Rockenfeller's in there, but he's a GTD Pro. Manny Franco and Danny Formal for Conquest Ferrari and Wayne Taylor Racing Lamborghini, as Kenton Cook now actually brings down the fastest lap in the GTD race to a 22.527, one with a 22.527. In GTD Pro, Paul Sitter, the Dragon Speed Ferrari, Giacomo Altoe leading by almost 2 seconds now from Klaus Bachler in the purple Porsche, number 77. Then the 2 Corvette Racing by Pratt Miller Corvettes, 4 from 3, Nicky Katzberg from Alexander Sims. Making up the top 6, Andrea Caldarelli for Pfaff Motorsport. In new colours this weekend, that Lamborghini Huracan, mostly white with red stripes, giving special prominence to one of their partners, Motul. That's a number 9 car, then sitting 5th, and is a couple of seconds ahead of Aaron Telitz for Lexus, the RCF GT3, black and yellow car. They were testing the replacement for that car here about a month ago on a public test day. So there are pictures of the car. It was in camo. Not quite sure what it's going to be called yet. Toyota and Lexus keeping their cards fairly close to their chest, but it has been out. Expect to see that being homologated, being cleared to race before the end of the year, and then its first outing should be at Daytona in 2026. Dries Vanthoor leading the motor race by 3.5 seconds as the 2 Penske Porsche Motorsport cars are chasing through traffic at the moment. Felipe Nasr with the black pinstripes on the roof and side pods of his red and white 963, and Matt Campbell with the white sitting in behind. Then it's Acura and Acura for Tom Blomqvist and Nick Yellerly, and Sheldon von der Linde makes up the top 6 in the second of the BMWs. 27 minutes gone, 2 hours and 13 still to go. That's your VP Racing update here on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. What are you taking from this opening half an hour or so, Ryan Marine?
Well, nice rhythm here so far, relatively clean to this point. We just saw Jimmy Bruni pit, first GTP car to pit for JDC Miller, and just crunching numbers, I think this is really on the fringe of being able to do it in one more stop without some help. So I'd be curious if Arjuna can track down whether or not this was planned. But this is a car that really hasn't quite been on the pace of some of the other cars in class, so maybe this is them rolling the dice a little bit strategically. Outside of that, though, I think that GTD battle is fascinating right now. Kenton Cook has the lead, but Parker Thompson's been keeping him honest. Russell Ward with a great start, picked up a spot right at the very start, and their championship bid continues to go from strength to strength. It's a really strong run in third as we see some more GTP cars coming to the pits, John.
Including the number 40, Jordan Taylor. Tyres going on, right side tyres going on. No, it's going to be a full set of Michelins. They look scrubbed to me. And again, this follows what we saw yesterday in the Saturday main race. The tyres that have had a thermal cycle put through them already. Also coming in, Ford Mustang. And that was the 64 Mike Rockenfeller car. Arjuna is down in the pit lane with this CrowdStrike report.
Not quite sure what was happening with JDC just yet, but I was tracking GTPs and plenty of the drivers getting suited and booted and their pit crews warming up. And in fact, in front of me, another pit stop's about to take place because I can see the Heart of Racing number 27 crew getting ready. One thing to point out, John, is in the GTD Pro and in the GTP class, minimum drive time for this event is 10 minutes, which means that these first drivers can get out of the car and hand over to their teammates if, like Ryan called out, they think their strategy can get them to the checkered flag without a splash and dash.
A couple of warnings for track limits. The car number 9 for Andrea Caldarelli, the Pfaff Motorsport Lamborghini. Just a warning for now. Also the Turner Motorsport BMW 96. That's Patrick Gallagher. Keep your nose clean, gentlemen. And a potentially more serious one, but still just a warning for powertrain violations. Now this is because IMSA are monitoring in real time the actual power being produced by each of the engines in these cars right across the 3 classes. There's a torque sensor on the drive shaft from the gearbox of all of these cars. It's a very clever piece of kit, very expensive piece of kit as well. Exactly the same as in the World Championship and at Le Mans. And so the number 77 AO Racing Porsche has been issued a warning. So that's basically too much power being transmitted from the engine. Now, given that these cars in one way, shape or form are all performance balanced, so that the teams and the drivers and the tacticians are the ones making the difference, that is something to keep an eye on. And race control seeing that, or at least IMSA Technical seeing that in real time. They install their own scrutineering wiring loom, and that is giving real-time data from a number of sensors, IMSA sensors, around all of the cars that are out there on the circuit at the moment, all 36 of them. Let's go down into the pit lane. Here's another CrowdStrike pit lane report from Arjuna.
Heart of Racing GTD has put 4 fresh Michelin tyres on, and off and away Casper Stevenson goes. Darren Turner not going to be jumping into that car just yet, but I was just looking over at the pit box for the Acura GTPs. Helmets on, drivers ready to go, and so driver change is imminent here, John, down on the pit lane.
That would be a tad early for me. Now, but that said, this comes back to what we were talking about, Ryan, doesn't it? About how the team split it up. You don't necessarily have to empty the fuel tank, or in today's terminology and parlance, you don't have to use all your energy. You might want to break up this race into 3 similar length tranches of racing. Big sideways slide, by the way, coming at the pit lane for Casper Stevenson in the heart of racing. Stop and repair for the number 10 Ricky Taylor, Wayne Taylor racing car. Now, this is for tyre pressures. You don't get any grace on this one. He's going to have to come in next time around. That will be too low a tyre pressure. We've seen IMSA implement this for the past couple of years after the controversy of the rules breaking and the hiding of the rules breaking at Daytona a couple of years ago. And so that number 10 car will have to come down pit lane immediately to have those tyres taken off, re-pressured. They can be used later. But they'll put another set of tyres on in the meanwhile. I wonder if they've been caught out just a little bit. The track temperature has remained around about 113 Fahrenheit, that's 45 Celsius. Yesterday, it was climbing way up to, well, actually, it was off the end of my scale of conversion charts. I think it got to 126, 127 yesterday. My chart only goes to 50 Celsius, which is 124. It's absolutely extraordinary. So that will have to come in immediately, and the Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac season still hasn't really kicked off, Ryan.
No, it hasn't. Now, the 10 car has not pitted yet, so maybe that indicates it's a slow puncture or something like that, why the pressures would have dropped too low at this point. That's what I'm trying to figure out a little bit, but the fact that they haven't pitted yet and you could pit here, this is not the strategy I think that they wanted to do with this car, but they could and still make it home on one more stop. It could be a lot worse, I suppose, than it is now, yeah. And that car is now in the pit lane. A couple other strategy things to cover off as well, but we can do that after these pit stops, John.
Let's get down to Arjuna. This is not optional. If you've been given a mechanical black flag for anything, you've got to come in straight away. And Arjuna, it looks like a 4 Michelin tyre stop.
4 Michelin tires. Does look like scrub tires from where I'm standing right now. And driver change going through as well. Ricky Taylor jumping out. Felipe Albuquerque is going to jump in and take over in that Cadillac number 10. Lots of smoke as the burnout as he pulls away from the box. A nice tidy stop for the number 10.
2 other cars being given exactly the same tyre operational requirement black flag, that being the number 14 Aaron Thielitz, Vassar Sullivan. In fact, actually it's both of the Vassar Sullivan Lexus, the Pro car, the 14, and the Parker Thompson number 12 car, and that car's running second at the moment. Hang on a second, I've got to add another car to that as another one is coming in, and that is another drive-through for Brendan Arieb this time, and he's the leading Bronze Cup driver for Inception Racing in the Ferrari. So once again, both Vassar Sullivan Lexus and the Inception Ferrari, and that is tyre operational requirements. I just wonder, with this rash of tyre penalties effectively, Ryan, just wonder if people have got their calculations wrong.
Yeah, this is really strange. I will say this hurts Brendan Arieb more than the others because the minimum drive time in GTD is 40 minutes. They would have wanted Brendan to do the 40 minutes, get out, and then have his driving done. If he does have to come in immediately, he will not have fulfilled the 40-minute drive time, which means they'll have to send him out again, and he is in the pits now, so they can't neatly cut off his stint the way that they would have liked to. The other GTD cars that have had this issue, they have a bit more flexibility with their driver lineup, so I think they can strategize their way around this, but this is bad news for the 70.
We've had the 96 Turner BMW onto the pit lane as well. That's the liquid moly red, white and blue car. Caught sight a moment or two ago as well of the number 48 Paul Miller Racing BMW. The teams are trying to get the tyres into the sun to get the temperature up before they put them on the cars. And they're not allowed electrical tyre warmers in this championship. So they're just trying to get some kind of idea of what the temperatures are going to be. Hello to Kevin Barber, watching in the UK, in the east of England, in Norwich. Very tempted to say home of the quiz of the week. Oh dear, I did too. Also into the pit lane, it's Roxy, number 77 car, perhaps a tad close to the wall there.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit tight for them changing the left-hand side tyres, Ryan.
I had the exact same thought. That crew member had to jump over the fuel hose and barely was able to bring the tire with him, but AO Racing did a really good job to adjust to that on the fly. Good stop for them. Remember, they had that warning a little while ago for the power, the controlled powertrain parameters warning, and what's interesting about that is we had gotten word from the team that Bachler had been told basically to go for it and try and run down the class leader just before that happened. And I wonder if there's anything to do with that. He started to push a little more, and oftentimes these warnings are triggered by too much curb usage. Basically, the way that the torque sensor measures power output can be tricked into thinking that you've spiked by going up and over some curbs, and maybe if he was starting to push, that could have elicited that warning.
Yeah, that's a good point. IMSA looking at that, and that's why not every single power spike will get you a penalty. Spinning up the wheel over a curb or getting airborne. Turn 6, you bottom out there, and sometimes you can get the rebound to take the car off the ground. Coming down to the first 40 minutes completed, and we are seeing an absolute variety of pit stop tactics. Let's have a quick CrowdStrike pit lane report from Arjuna.
Interesting that the Corvette GTD Pro engine, the number 3, has come in and I think put on sticker Michelin tires, and I've just now seen the number 14 Vassar Sullivan Lexus put on scrubbed Michelin tires. So John, you're talking about the variety of strategies. There's so many different variables that come into play. When the teams come down onto pit lane, how much energy they put in the car, which tires they're changing, that's a bit of a constant. Everyone's taking 4 Michelin tires, but scrub for you is the question. It's a really interesting strategic game down on pit lane.
Let's have a look at our Brembo brake facts for the 4th round of the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Each round, the Brembo technicians come up with these facts to give us an idea of just how hard the stopping power has to be, just how much the stopping power has to be. Now, this is a 3 out of 5 difficulty rating. That takes into account the top speed, the slowest corners, brake pressure, etc. It will surprise you. Actually, it surprises me that the toughest braking point is turn 2. I thought it might have been turn 11, but that'll be on account of you're approaching it a lot quicker. As far as Brembo and the brake discs and pads are concerned, or the rotors and pads are concerned, there are 9 braking zones per lap. Not all the same, of course. Coming into that turn 2 area, just over the top of the brow, slightly downhill, always tricky. You're coming and scrubbing off on the GTP cars 115 miles an hour, which basically puts about 2.5 Gs into slowing down. The peak brake temperatures here, if we think it's hot on the track, 113 Fahrenheit. How about 1500 Fahrenheit for the peak brake temperature? And with the heat outside, the heat's got to go somewhere. It's got to dissipate. And in some of the front engine cars in GTD, that's going to be coming back into the cabin, and sometimes even down through the brake pedal as well from the engine brake bay and the brakes. That's our Brembo brake facts for WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Hello from Voiron in France, Jake Parrott, making his way home from the WEC in Spa. Very grateful for making the pictures and words available to my laptop screen after dinner. And hello to High Five Collectibles, Les McDonald with his fiancée Christina, watching in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Go Roxy! And also as well Dave Alcock, one of our regular viewers and listeners in the UK, at IMSA Radio. And don't forget, make notes please, because we want your comments, points arising, observations for Michelin post-race tech, which comes up after the checkered flag. We'll take some reaction whilst we're still on the World Feed TV, and then go back to radio for the additional content of Michelin post-race tech. And you get to shape that show. Let us know what you want to know, who you want to talk to, and we'll task Arjuna to go and find out and speak to some of the drivers around Victory Circle, and Ryan and I will try to unpick where the key parts of the race are. Slow moving Porsche, it's the number 6 car, Matt Campbell. He, I think, got a little tap there, and he may have a puncture. He's heading into the pit lane down at the bottom of the hill. This all started coming out a rainy curve. No, he's not. He's done the old 3-fingered salute, Control-Alt-Delete. For a moment there, and I'm looking at the Michelin tyres on the left, I thought he had a tyre problem, and that's why it slowed down. Well, that's amazing. It looked like he just lost power there completely then, Ryan Marine, and somehow the pit lane have talked Matt Campbell around refiring that V8 twin-turbo engine.
Well, that started down through rainy curve, it looks like, as we have a battle for the lead, I think, here, John. I'll let you take that, and then we'll get back to what happened.
Side by side, going up to turn number 6 and heading up the Rahal Straight, but Dries Van Tor repels Felipe Nasser for the time being, but that was traffic assisted. Coming to the sort of area where the team car seemed to cut out or something, just under the walkover bridge there, and plunging down towards turn 10, right in the midst of traffic. Opportunist manoeuvre from Felipe Nasser, but just couldn't get it done. Meantime, the Wayland Cadillac of Jack Aitken's been in and out of the pit lane. I have not seen such a variety of pit lane and tactical strategies in a long time. So Campbell was fine. He went off the track and side by side, and actually there was contact with the Lamborghini right front of the Porsche to about the middle of the Lamborghini on the left-hand side. Did that maybe hit a breaker or something like that and stop the engine? Meantime, the almost pass for the lead was down at turn 5, running up to turn 6, with the windward AMG playing a part there, and they went, well, wow. Well, a very brave manoeuvre in turn 6 for Dries Van Toor, who decided that he was going to tear up the inside of the Triazi competition Ferrari, I think it was. No, of course it wasn't. It was the Inception Ferrari, the yellow car. And there was only just a BMW's width. And that's how he held on to the lead. Looks like he's coming round to put a lap on his teammate as well. No, that's Marco Whitman's closed them up. So the top 3 are together now. So there's battle for traffic, and BMW's are 1 and 2, I think. And Cadillac is into 3rd position for the moment, as Jack Aitken is there. No, sorry, no, they are lap cars. They have been on pit lane. Whew. My God, I was thinking, hang on a second, how have they got through there? So Van Toor still half a second, and meantime, drama on the pit lane, with a car dead stick in the middle of the pit lane. Now gets going again. That was the DXDT Corvette, which is now rolling again. Not entirely sure. There was something alongside that car that a crew member had to go and pick up. Arjuna has the news.
Yeah, there was actually contact, John, with the 021 Triazi competition engine that was leaving its pit box. DXDT, Alex Udell trying to get into the lane. Unfortunately, not able to find their marks, and so I can see Robert Wicken sitting on the pit wall now as that Corvette goes around and does another lap.
And there's damage to the right front of the JG Wentworth Ferrari and the 36 DXDT Corvette. Right, so now that I've worked out where we are on the track with those early pit stops, I was about to make the point, Ryan, that I've not seen such variety. And this is why now we've got the 2 leaders, Van Toor and Nasser, in the 24 Beamer and the 7 Porsche, catching up with Jack Aitken and Marco Wittmann, who are in 9th and 10th. And not a battle for the lead, but my goodness, I have not seen so much variety. This is the split strategy we talked about in, I think it was FP2 on Saturday.
Yeah, normally you talk about split strategy and you have 2, maybe 3 options, but I think we've got 4 or 5 different versions of this all playing out. On the extreme end, you have the top 6 in GTP that have yet to pit. So that's from Dries Van Toor in the lead down to Roman DeAngelis for Heart of Racing down in 6th. Everyone else has, and they're at different stages. We've got cars that just came in within the last few laps with 94% energy left, and we've got others with only 65% energy. Jimmy Bruni, who pitted at the early end of this window, and that's just in GTP. We've also had some wild strategy playing out in the GTD classes that, frankly, I need to take a moment to try and sift through.
Now here are some more penalties. Our Porsche keys to the race were restarts and pits. We've had some pit stops, and the 021, that's the Triazi machine. That was the one that had the contact with the DXDT. That's going to be a drive-through. Also taking a drive-through for a tyre left unattended in the pit lane. Wayne Taylor Racing's Lamborghini Huracan, currently in the hands of Trent Hindman. Those are big, heavy things, those tyres, and they have to be looked after. And we've seen a few of those this season already. Hello to our friends around the world. We've got listeners in Kolkata, up in the northeast of England. Hello, Chris and Natalie. Hello to Blur Fiend, presumably in Florida. Not sure where you are at the moment. Johnny Main says, I love these shorter races. Don't get me wrong, I love the 8, 12 or 24 hours, but the urgency to get the overtakes done right now and the non-stop action is fabulous. Paul Gibson is loving the Heart of Racing Valkyrie, particularly the noise. And this from Sems, I like this, Ali. Alex M says, why do the GTs not keep the indicators? They do. And sometimes they will use them to let the faster cars know which way they're going to go or which way they want them to pass. At IMSA Radio if you want to get in touch. Ryan Marine. This is starting to heat up again at the sharp end of the field with Felipe Nasser as they're coming through again to lap traffic. Under the tyre rack, walk over bridge towards turn 4, pick a side, any side. Dries Vanthoor goes down the inside, might have just lost a little bit of pace through turn 4. Is there an opportunity at turn 5? Darts to the left, then goes to the right. Got to be left room on the outside. And Felipe Nasser goes Buffalo Gals round the outside at turn 5. Through the dummy to the right going into turn 5. Dared Dries Vanthoor to block him, which he did. And then swapped sides. Left first, then right. Was confident with the grip. What a manoeuvre. Goes to the left, goes to the right. There was just about a 963's width on the outside. He took it. Do you know what? He didn't even go over the exit curb. That's one of the best overtakes I've seen between cars in the same class for a very, very long time. Porsche leads at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca.
Well, that was a masterclass. What a move to get to the outside, the confidence to keep it there as well. Think about how deep into this race we are, all the marbles offline, and Nasser knew that car would stick. It seems like the Porsche, on the long run, a little better on its tires maybe than the BMW. It came to life in the second half of this stint.
The number 6 car is in the pit lane for Porsche. So the team car, the car that's just taken the lead, and there's a bit of argy-bargy going on, coming out of the corkscrew as well a moment or two ago. That was the Pfaff Racing Lamborghini, and that car was side by side for a moment at least with one of the Vasser Sullivan racing cars. Meantime, replenishment of energy for the white striped Porsche. That's the number 6, the old Salzburg racing colours. Now, I didn't see Matt Campbell get out of that, but Arjuna was closer. Was that a pit stop, including a driver change? Or has Matt stayed in? And what about the tyres? 2, 4 or not?
I was actually at the other end of pit lane trying to get an update on the DXDT entry, which is still not returned to pit lane after Alec Udell's failed attempt to make it to the box. Oh. But I'm pretty sure no driver change on that number 6, John, at least from my vantage point.
Hello to Connor Hudson in the northeast of England, and also to Chris Humphreys as well. Great to have you there. Bad news if you're an Aston Martin fan. A cut rear tyre on the left-hand side, and that is going to be a long and arduous drive back, round about half a lap for the Aston, which has just been getting quicker and quicker all weekend. That Valkyrie scored in 5th position as it went across the line to start this lap for Roman De Angelis. Under a minute away from the leader, but that is going to disappear. But with an hour and 46 minutes to go, that is 106, 107 minutes. That's tight. 53, 54 minutes on a tank. It's possible. We've run 54 minutes now, so maybe one more stop for that car. But we had some very early stoppers, Ryan, that I don't think can get home in GTP with just one more stop. I'm pretty certain, in fact, that they can't.
Well, it's really interesting because we've run almost an hour here. They would, for instance, JDC would need to run about 65 minutes, I think, to make this strategy work, which might take some help. But a few of the others that pitted 1 or 2 laps after with some save, I think, would be okay.
Do you want to save here? That's the question. Or do you want to go full tilt? Aston is in the pit lane. And looks like a full service for that car. Daniel Serra puts in the fastest GTD lap of the race and then is immediately usurped by Elliott Skier. So Conquest had it for a moment, but now it's a 122.163 as opposed to a 168, which is what Daniel Serra put in. Elliott Skier for Wright Motorsport with the faster time. Johnny Main suggests that the left rear tyre of the Valkyrie for Harter Racing probably just exploded with joy, having been so close to that glorious sound of the V12 for almost an hour. Very good. Very good. Joss is back from Spa-Francorchamps and tuning in for what he describes as back-to-back top-tier racing. Thank you very much. So, a bit of lappery going on now. Now, can the BMWs work together here? As the leader, Felipe Nasr, is coming to put a lap on Marco Wittmann in the number 25 BMW. It's a team game. I don't like to see it, but all's fair. That 25 BMW will want to stay on the lead lap, and he's allowed to defend for that, coming up to pass the Aston Martin now of Roscoe, who did stay in that car. Aston Martin, just a completely different look and sound to everything else. It is, of course, built and running to a different set of regulations than all the other cars. It is the only LMH car, the Le Mans Hypercar regulation machine. Everything else is LMDH in the GTP category. So what do you do now if you're Marco Wittmann? You are going to defend. You don't want to go a lap down. That could ruin your race. I think he's got to. Race control will be watching to make sure that it's all fair, but I think he's got to make it difficult for Felipe Nasr to get past.
Yeah, that's what he'll be trying to do here for sure. That's what the strategy requires. He needs to stay on the lead lap and try to catch a yellow. We'll keep an eye on the battle, but I think our Crown Strike pit reporter, Arjuna, has got an interview for us down in the pits.
Let's see if we can catch up with Roman De Angelis jumping out of the Aston Martin Valkyrie. A little bit of contact is what you were saying caused that little bit of puncture.
Yeah, just made my way around some GT traffic. Whoever was in the Turner car at the time decided to defend to the last corner, so made me go over the long way around, and then gave him tons of room. And then, yeah, obviously he just drove into the left rear and caused a puncture. So, you know, that's part of it, I guess, sadly. But yeah, I mean, the car was good. We were definitely learning a lot. The track has a lot of degradation, so yeah, new experience for us here at Laguna Seca. It's a bit of a shame that happened at the last corner, so had to put around the whole lap and probably a lap down now, but see if we can get a caution and get back on the lead lap. You and I were talking a bit pre-race. You're quite tall, so is your teammate. How do you guys fit into this Aston Martin Valkyrie? It must be a tight squeeze. Yeah, definitely. I might have picked the wrong sport, but here we are. Yeah, definitely not the right size for it, but yeah, the team's accommodated me really well, and Ross is quite tall as well, so yeah, we somehow managed to do the job. Our driver changes don't look pretty, that's for sure, but yeah, we can get in and out, and we can turn the wheel and build the pedals enough to go quick, so that's all that matters. Thanks.
Can you imagine a driver squad that was Ross Gunn, who's in the car now, Roman De Angelis, Arjuna, who's NBA tall almost, and then add someone like Luke Hartog, who I think is 6'7", Luke Hartog.
Yeah, he is.
Incredible. Pete Nicholson asks this question, and it's a good one, and I'll take your answers on at IMSA Radio. Help me understand why the IMSA Porsche seems so much better than the WEC Porsche, whilst I realise there's no Ferrari in the field, but still they're unbeaten this year. It's a good point. The nature of the circuits as the leader pulls into the pit lane, maybe they're able to get the car into an operating window better on the types of tracks that we have over here. I honestly don't know the answer to that, Pete, and it's a very, very good question. We've got listeners in Nepal, in Ulaanbaatar, IMSA, International Motorsport Association, Perth, Australia, checking in. I just saw as well. So you're already in tomorrow, aren't you? That's Ridwan, 4 a.m. And Sven heard the Aston Martin in real life over the weekend. It's breathtaking, but I still like the Caddy. I think that one's noisiest, but not as noisy as that NASCAR at Le Mans a couple of years ago. The documentary movie about that Garage 56 entry, the Camaro, is coming out this summer, and I'm delighted to say that Radio Show Limited and Radio Le Mans had a big part to play in that. It was a big project for us as well. And we were delighted and honoured to be involved in that. Can't wait to see it. Have not seen the finished article yet. But knowing who made it, I know it is going to be very, very good indeed. Something to keep an eye on your TVs. I'm sure it will be available. I'm being told that Felix and Eva Tandy in the middle of Bedfordshire are being allowed to stay up to the driver changes. Well, that's now. Your dad's going to work now, Felix and Eva, and he's got about 100 minutes of work to do to keep this streak going. Dries Vanthoor has pitted, having resumed in the lead, or having retaken the lead, but Nick's already out. So the Bedfordshire Bullet has been released. Moment or two ago, coming out the final corner, Acura on Cadillac, the number 93 red, white and black car, getting a little feisty, pulling over towards the pit wall, closing that gap. Renger van der Zande defending, down into the Andretti hairpin. Jack Aitken, well, he had his elbows out as well. I think that was right on the edge of being acceptable. Philip Eng has taken over the BMW number 24. Colin Brown has gone out in the number 60 Acura. And I think we've had a change of lead. I think that early pit stop for the number 6 Porsche has put them ahead of their teammates, Ryan.
It does look that way. I want to make sure everything cycles through, but I think you're right. That fight we were commenting about with van der Zande and Aitken, Renger was right out of the pits at that point, so he was still bringing those tires into the window. But yeah, you might be onto something there. It wasn't much of an undercut. There's only a 5% difference in the virtual fuel tank between the 6 and the 7, but maybe, well, now that's just changed substantially, so I take that back. But anyway, yeah, that could have definitely paid some dividends for them. One other story I quickly wanted to cover off. One of the front runners in GTD, they were running top 5, had a penalty they had to serve for an unattended tire. That was the Wayne Taylor, number 45. Trent Hidman has served that penalty and has dropped down to 9th, but they had a pretty good day going until that penalty.
And we'll do a quick VP Racing update here, because we have got a new leader in GTD Pro. Lauren Heinrich now leads for the car, or the team at least, that won here last year. Sebastian Prio part of that team last year, now of course a Works Ford driver. So it's the 77 Porsche from a Ford Mustang, the number 65 of Fred Vervish, with Antonio Garcia in the Corvette in 3rd. A 4th different manufacturer, the pole sitter, the Dragon Speed Ferrari, Albert Costa now behind the wheel of the number 81 car in 4th, and make that 5 in 5 for the GTD Pro leaders, as Marco Mappelli is in the 5th position for Pfaff Motorsport. That's all going to shake up as Fred Vervish comes into the pit lane. Parker Thompson is leading in the GTD category from Kenton Cook, who's been, both those drivers been driving since the start and are on their 2nd stints. They've both been along pit lane. Phil Ellis has taken over the Winwood Mercedes AMG GT3, the blue and black car, from Russell Ward. Pat Gallagher for Turner Motorsport is next up. That's the number 96 Liquid Molly car, and making up the top 6, Casper Stevenson for Harter Racing, Aston Vantage, and Elliott Skier for Wright Motorsport. Meantime, side by side on the front page straight, and we actually had 3 wide there for a moment. BMW, Marco Wittmann splitting either side of the Liquid Molly car I was just talking about, with the number 10 of Philippe Albuquerque, and Marco Wittmann takes 5th position. Albuquerque back to 6th. Jaminet leads from Philip Eng in 2nd, Nick Tandy down in 3rd, and some 9 seconds away from his teammate. That's how it's shaking out, with that much earlier stop from the number 6 car. That really is interesting We said there was a variety of tactics, Ryan, and it's played out in the favour for once of the number 6 Porsche from Porsche Penske Motorsport.
Well, one thing that the earlier stop will do is that meant they were putting less fuel in the tank, so it should be a quicker
Correct.
stop from that perspective. So that could have helped. Then you have the overcut of being out on warm tires when others are trying to bring their tires up to temperature, and it seems like they've been able to maximize that. It's also worked, it would appear, for Jimmy Bruni. Remember, they pitted really early, like right on the fringe of what we think might be possible to make it in one stop, and that's vaulted JDC up to 4th. But the thing with these that have taken these early stops is they're going to have to take their medicine at some point. It's going to come later where they'll have to do the more full fill relative to some of the others, and that's when it could swing back the other direction.
Well, to the exact point, Jimmy Bruni is down to almost only a third of his energy. You can follow along, by the way. There is a page on the IMSA site. If just use your search engine and put in IMSA GTP energy, and there's telemetry on that. IMSA GTP telemetry actually would probably be the best search terms, and that'll turn up straight away. Jimmy Bruni, 35% of his energy against the leader having 74 and 89 for Nick Tandy. And we might be having a full course yellow here. Heart of Racing Aston number 27 is in the dirt for Casper Stevenson. Now, is that engine still running? I think it is. And he's got it moving. He's got it moving. He's found first gear. He was facing the wrong direction at turn 5. Bit of extra racetrack there this year. Subject of much discussion, actually, in the driver meeting about whether you could use it, when you could use it. Casper didn't panic there, recycled. He had help. He had a lot of help from Elliott Skier in the Wright Motorsports number 120. That'll be getting looked at. Ooh, now up the inside, but was Elliott close enough? You've got to give room for both drivers. Racing room has to be given. Wow. What do you make of that one, Ryan? I mean, it doesn't matter what we think about it. Race control and make the call, but that's tight, actually, I think. That's tighter than it probably looked on first viewing.
Yeah, look, I'd love to see it again, but it looked like maybe a bit of a late lunge from the Porsche. I'm not sure that, I'm just not sure that the Aston saw that one coming. Glad that he was able to pull away, though, because if I thought the strategy was complicated before, that full course yellow there would have about blown my mind, I think. But anyway, good to see him pull away, and we'll see what race control likes to do, not unexpectedly at all. They are reviewing that incident as we speak.
Casper is going again. It's cost him a bit of real estate, and he's dropped back a little bit. Vice Like Elm says, hello, great racing today. Good afternoon. What is it, nearly 1:20 in the afternoon. WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Do you think we'll see hybrids in GTD, GT3 anytime soon? I remember when Porsche did the hybrid with the flywheel, nearly won the Nürburgring 24 hours as well, that car. I don't think we will, for the simple reason is it's an added level of complexity. Works teams, maybe, but GTD, GT3 are, in theory, customer cars. We've seen it come and go from World Championship rallying, from the World Rally Championship, WRC. They've kept the same cars but removed the hybrids. They've felt that they weren't giving them the performance advantage that they wanted, and there was some reliability issues as well. Good question, though. We'll have more of those in Michelin post-race tech. 85 bright yellow Porsche. That is Jimmy Bruni, and he's been hunted down by Marco Wittmann. This is a pass for position. The Italian from the middle of the road into turn 2, defending. He'll go wide in the middle of the corner and then diamond it back, which he did. Coming into turn number 3. A little bit of curb underneath the tyre rack bridge. Set it up for turn number 4. Dab of the brakes from Bruni early, just to back Wittmann up. Now we'll go past the caught off AMG. Kenton Cook running in second, so Parker Thompson can't be that far up the road either. In fact, no, he's just gone through. Oh, no. Was that Parker Thompson behind Kenton Cook? Have we seen a change in the leads? Parker nicked that in the pit stop rotation, but I think I just saw the red Kenton Cook car ahead. Ah, no, it was the other car. It's the GTD Pro car of Aaron Telitz that's behind Kenton Cook. Everybody's thinking it, nobody's saying it, and I'm not going to say it either because I don't want a Johnny Palmer this race. But this is cracking, Ryan. We are down to 90 minutes to go. One pit stop done for everybody at least, and one query to, and one and a splash maybe for some. But Nick Tandy on 81%, he is aiming to make it on one more pit stop. I reckon he's got to get somewhere. What time is it now? 1:20 in the afternoon. Yeah, he's got to do, I think he's got to get somewhere near the top of the hour to be able to go full tilt. Oh, mistake from the Acura at turn 6. Not the first driver to do that. Won't be the last either. It's the Meyershank Racing number 60. Colin Brown doesn't make many mistakes. He's torn off some bodywork to the right rear of that car. Did Colin have a little whoopsie down at turn 9 Rainy Curve as well during the early part of the week, Ryan?
Yeah, sure did. It was a strange one. He went nose first into a concrete barrier. It moved the barrier, but somehow that robust Acura was able to drive away from the incident and actually return to the practice session. It was pretty remarkable. That was a wild ride, and then he got pretty feisty there, didn't he, with Louis Delatraz trying to hang on and only lose the one position. Aitken was able to get through a moment ago, but Brown was able to fend off the advance from Delatraz. There's some of the bodywork, though, from the car, and that won't have him liking the handling, I suspect.
Well, that came off Colin Brown's car. I'm hearing also that Louis Delatraz has lost some bodywork on the Wayne Taylor Acura as well. Colin just slightly turned in a tiny bit too late to turn 6, and it's ripped off that. It's almost like a cheese wedge shape behind the car. And then Delatraz tries to have a look up the inside because of the momentum that was lost, and he drops the inside. Oh, actually got airborne coming over the top of the corkscrew in the chrome silver Dex Imaging number 40 Cadillac V Series. And I think he's dropped a bit of bodywork on the front straight as well. By the way, we have had a blocking warning as well, and that was issued to Renger van der Zande for blocking. That was about 10 minutes ago, but only a warning for the moment. Everything's going on at the moment. I don't know where to look, and we've still got an hour and a half. And here comes a penalty for blocking, and this is the Aston Martin number 27, Casper Stevenson. So he has been assessed as the transgressor, presumably, in that turn 5 incident that put him off the side of the circuit. Oh no, he hasn't. No, that's a different event, because I've just seen that Adam Adelson's car has got the, well, it's Skier behind it. The 120 has been charged with incident responsibility with the 27. So both of those cars will have to come down pit lane. And pit lane is where we found our CrowdStrike reporter, Arjuna Kankapati.
Let's catch up with Felipe Nasser jumping out of that Porsche Penske Motorsports number 7 that's won 3 on the bounce to kick off the year. We were just talking, hard but good was that opening stint.
Yeah, there was a lot happening behind the wheel and the traffic, and then trying to fight for position and at the same time trying to save fuel. But I saw an opportunity there to overtake for the lead. was a nice pass on the outside of 5, and yeah, we're working our way. Nick is currently P7 or P2, second place now. So yeah, let's just see how it's going to shuffle, you know, to that final stop. I do see we have some advantage on the energy because we're probably one of the cars that pitted the latest, but so far it's looking good.
That was going to be my next question. I was going to ask you about the strategy. Are you surprised that it's so wide open and that we're seeing so many different options for the teams to pick from?
Yeah, that's why I was saying it was so hard behind the wheel, because there were times you're going through traffic and suddenly, you know, cars came out of the pits on cold tires and they're also trying to fight for position and to not to lose the lead lap. So that was pretty hard, very intense, but we got through it. The car's in one piece, and yeah, it's in the hands of Nick now and the team.
Obviously, execution's been a big part of the reason why you've won 3 races in a row. What's come together, though, for Porsche Penske Motorsports as a team to deliver the start to the year that you've had most points of anyone in the modern points format?
I think it's in many areas we have improved, from the operation, performance, understanding the car, the tires, even us drivers getting more and extract more from the car. You know, just that confidence behind the wheel on a restart and all these little things coming together now. It's been fun, you know, that's because I have a great team behind me, and you know, I love working with these guys. Thanks.
Into the pit lane for the number 60 Acura. That's the Colin Brown car with damage to both left and right rear. The first one we knew about because the right rear fell off the track, but there's now been a further piece of contact coming out of the final corner. Oh, the rear wing's broken off and everything. That's going to be more than just a bit of tape. They're going to change the whole rear deck. They were asked politely to come in by race control. There was a orange and black flag, the meatball flag as it's known here in the US, and they're having a good look at what's gone underneath there because they want to make sure that there's no pieces of bodywork. And actually what the problem is that the fixings for that rear piece of bodywork haven't come off properly, and there's a bit of something in there, and maybe some tyre cord or something on there as well. Certainly something had been rubbing. Ah yes, that will have come off the face of the tyre because it was rubbing against the left rear Michelin. Did catch a quick look at the torque sensor there as well. For those of you who had eagle eyes, Alan Prosser will have that as well. Hello to Kevin Conyu. Not sure where you are in the world, but watching the international feed, where we have 82 minutes to go in this race. And I have to say, Ryan, I'm trying to keep track of this in terms of who's doing what to whom tactically, but beyond the first 2 or 3, everybody else is doing something different. I don't think we've got 2 cars on exactly the same strategy in the GTP category. And we might have 1, maybe 2 cars that have pitted on the same lap. The leader, for example, Mathieu Jaminet, has 54% energy left. So that is somewhere in the region of 25 laps, maybe a little bit more than that. Nick Tandy's got nearly 70%, so that's well over 30. That's getting on for 35. And it gets worse for the Meyer Shank Racing team. They forgot about the tyre and wheel on the pit lane, left it unattended. That'll be a drive-through, for goodness sake. And they're also going to be under review for the incident that caused part of that damage. And when that number 60 car hit the Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac, or was hit by, I would think that would be on Louis rather than on Colin, as they both turned in at the top of the hill. Casper Stevenson, by the way, went in pretty hard when he went off the track with that touch from the Porsche, but that car is still chugging around after its penalties. Sorry, just to, every time I look at one screen or another here, Ryan, something else happens on the track. Colin Brown, the only good thing about Colin Brown, he's 2 laps down, but he's fueled to the end from here. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's not quite, actually. But I was making a joke there. But, I mean, honestly, there's not 2 cars on the same energy right throughout the field of GTP.
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe, just a handful of cars pitted on the same lap. Everything else is sprinkled away with a great variety there. And to your point about Brown, just shy, I think, by maybe 15 minutes of being in the window. The drive-through penalty that they have coming up as well really keeps them out of the mix here. That incident, by the way, between the 40 and the 60 was reviewed. No action taken. So that was Colin and Louis Delatraz at the top of the corkscrew. And evidently, race control deeming that a racing incident, so they continue on. What we're about to see here as Brown serves his drive-through, the first domino to fall strategically for GTP, at least, will be JDC Miller, because again, Jimmy Bruni pitted super early. He's got 10% energy left in the virtual tank. The longest anyone went in that first stint was Dries Van Thor. He did an hour, just over an hour, maybe an hour and 30 seconds or so. And that was done, remember, with a couple of pace laps. So maybe you can add another lap to what his total was. But what JDC is looking for here is trying to get as close to that hour mark as possible, get that stop done, and then catch a yellow, and hopefully then be able to make it home the rest of the way.
Yeah. They've traded a potential extra pit stop for track position, which was one of our Porsche keys to the race. We're halfway there. And here's our Pelotti mid-race recap. 62 laps. Well, we've just turned 63, actually. Matty Jaminet still leading. Battles going on down the field. 0 cautions for 0 laps. I can't believe you guys put that on there. You're just tempting fate in graphics up there in Concord. And at the moment, no official retirements, but we've got a couple of cars that are off the back of the field who have dropped a couple of laps and been struggling. But so far, we counted them out, all 36, and all 36 are coming round regularly across the line. Side-by-side action after our Pelotti mid-race recap. And down the inside for the red, white and black, number 93, Renger van der Zande. He takes Jimmy Bruni, who I'm guessing he's trying to stretch it as far as he can. Louis Delatraz, by the way, is only on 9% as well. So those 2 cars, the 85 and the 40, having been riding high at one stage, now don't have the pace at this end of their stint. They can't turn the car up to where they want to, and that is costing them that hard-earned, that tactically hard-earned track position. With 10% left, they are not going to get to the hour mark here. So there's going to have to be another stop from somewhere. Jaminet still leads by 5.3 seconds from his teammate, and then it's a full minute back to... no, it's not, excuse me, he's just gone across the line. That's why. Philip Egg's just come across the line, 11 seconds back. Let's go down to the pit lane. There's been a pit stop for DXDT and their Corvette. Robert Wiggins in 12th place as he rejoins in that Corvette number 36. That means Alec Udell can talk to Arjuna.
Alec Udell, part once again of DXDT Racing after Tommy Milner paired up with Robert Wiggins at the Grand Prix of Long Beach. Alec, first thing I've got to ask you, we thought Robert was going to do qualifying until you rolled out in the car yesterday. What made the change to send you out in qualifying on very short notice?
Yeah, the change to send me in qualifying was just down to pit time, because we're so close to the pit entry here. Rob has so many things going on with his hands, it's hard to get belts and everything done in time. So that was kind of the switch for this race, and yeah, that was that.
Nice and simple, I guess. Talk to me a bit then about how, now you're out of the car, what you're doing strategically to help, because this is a race, we were just talking about it, that's gone caution-free so far, but so many different strategic elements, and I know for you, the false start coming into the pit box, unfortunate contact with Trialsi competition, I'm sure that's put you slightly off kilter.
Yeah, unfortunately, we, essentially served a drive-through penalty for no reason with that. It's just, it's part of it. It's bad luck, and sometimes it happens. You just try to avoid it if you can. And unfortunately, we couldn't do that this time. And I feel real bad for the team because everyone gave us a great car. Obviously, starting on the front row, we were running top 3. I think we had a really good car for the finish. So just frustrated with that. And yeah, from there, it's just trying to have some damage control, see what advantage we might be able to get with energy, and try and get Rob back on the lead lap and something to fight for at the end here.
This obviously is a really great program to see Robert jump back behind the wheel of the race car. But I saw you guys practice driver changes yesterday, and driver changes are always a team game, but this even more so. Talk to me about what the difference is for you as the driver trying to now work in this driver change system.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you're making a driver change, there's a few things where it's like, oh, if I don't get the wheel all the way up, or if I don't get the pedals all the way, it's not the end of the world. But you have to be a bit more precise and make sure you get everything done, because if I screw up, it messes up the other side a little bit more. And so there's a couple extra things I have to do. Other than that, it's pretty similar. You have things that you're doing each time in the driver change, and it's the normal cadence that you get into. It's just getting in, not having a whole ton of practice, just doing it throughout the weekend as we could. Obviously there's always things that you want to improve on, and luckily we'll have time to do that as we go forward.
Thanks, Alec.
Yeah, you got it.
Great battling going out on the circuit. Number 93, Acura for Honda Racing. They are running that car tactically and strategically this season. Obviously under the Meyer-Shank awning, if you like. Renger van der Zende staring at the back of Jack Aitken's Wayland Cadillac, and they've been fighting through traffic, and just ahead of them is Philippe Albuquerque. So that's a 3-car GTP battle pack, Ryan, for 5th, 6th and 7th.
Yeah, really close and really fierce fights there. We've had 2 of the 3 warned for blocking in the last couple of minutes. The 93 and the 31 both receiving warnings, and the car at the front of this train is driving with some damage. Yeah.
Sorry, Ryan, the second warning for Renger van der Zande.
Yeah, exactly. So he'll really need to be on his toes here, because that is not the first time, as you say, that race control has cited him for that. Oh, big move up the inside, John.
Excellent maneuver. And now, has that actually paid off? Yes, it has. So, change of... No, it hasn't, excuse me. Is that Jimmy Bruni right ahead of them? Yes,
yeah, he's had some pits.
That's Timon van der Helm.
So it's actually Timon van der Helm.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, missed that one. There's so much going on. Hello to Phil Gaynor, who's been doing some yard work and listening to IMSA Radio, now settling down to watch the videos as well. Tom Jeffries is home for a BMW win today. But, he says, I love Laguna Seca. Yes, don't we all? Producing some great racing today. If you didn't catch up with the WEC yesterday, our archive is posted, and there's 3 2-hour segments of audio. So if you, I've got to drive on Tuesday of about 4 hours. So I'm going to try and do the first 2 hours, and then the last 4 hours. I was watching the timing on that, and there's a little touch at turn 6, and off goes Philippe Albuquerque. So you can catch up on that. There's been a lot going on this weekend. Now Philippe Albuquerque got damage to the right front as he got a little side swipe coming through turn 6. It wasn't as much as a hip and shoulder. It was very light contact, Ryan, but enough to put that light metallic blue Dex imaging car off the side of the circuit. There was contact down at the bottom of the hill. That's where it all started in turn 5. Up the inside for the red, white and black Whelan car. And, oh, that's interesting. The damage on the right was already there. So that's been there for about 5 or 6 laps, I'm being told, for Delatraz. For Albuquerque in the Dex Imaging number 10 car. If there was contact there, it was very light. Was racing room given? Well, you've got to say, it looked to me as though Aitken was through.
I see where you're coming from, and we've seen some hip and shoulder moves be given the no action taken reaction from race control already, so that seems to be part and parcel with what we've seen here so far. Had to wonder how much that damage at the front of that car has been hindering Philippe Albuquerque as well. It's really brought him into the clutches of some of these other cars and left him vulnerable, I fear, in that instance.
Yeah, we saw light contact there having large consequences yesterday, with a two-car incident coming from side-by-side contact, and that resulted in a stop and 60-second hold. And that was in the Michelin Pilot race. Jaminet still leading, 37% of his energy still there. Nick Tandy doing a cracking job. He's at 7 seconds, but he's still got half of his energy left. Philip Eng's doing a good job as well. He's another 10 seconds further back. He's actually closed the gap in terms of energy on Nick Tandy. This virtual fuel tank readout that we get via the telemetry at IMSA, it's another tool for us to try and work out who's doing what. But that's really interesting for me, Ryan, that Philip Eng, who was about 3 or 4%, in fact 4 or 5% away from Tandy not so very long ago, has pulled that back to, he's just gone down to 48, so to 2%. His teammate Marco Wittmann, next back in line, is on 25%, 27 for Jack Aitken in 5th, Renger van der Zande on 51 in 6th, but he's 23 seconds back on the leader. But this is all going to play in to what we see in the last hour of the race. We're getting close. We're about, what, 4 or 5 laps maybe? Let's call it 6 or 7 to be absolutely safe, away from being able to take your last pit stop.
Well, tell you to you this way. Again, we know Dries Vanthoor went an hour and about 30 seconds on that first stint. We have an hour and 8 minutes and 20 seconds still to go in the race. So we're talking just a handful of laps until you're comfortably in that window. I think it's interesting that Eng is actually down on energy to Tandy because he pitted 1 lap later, or that car did, with Vanthoor. So that actually speaks to what Nick Tandy has done behind the wheel to save some energy on his end, and that should shorten up their stop when they elect to do it. That could be crucial here for the 7 to try and at least hang on to second, if not challenge its team car for the win.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I got those numbers the wrong way around. I knew there'd been a split between them, but it was in the favour of Eng. You were absolutely right. So it's Tandy. So we're going to have to call him soft foot Tandy after this, or light foot Tandy. Never mind the Bedfordshire Bullet. We know he's got the pace, but he's doing a job here for the number 7 Porsche Penske Motorsport team. In fact, closing up last time around on the leader considerably, 1:15.6 to an 18.1. That's traffic for Jaminet last time around. Now traffic giveth, traffic taketh away. But Philip Eng, as you rightly say, who pitted later, now a good 2% worse off on energy than Nick Tandy. Now, ultimately, it might not matter, but why we're bringing this up, as Philippe Albuquerque will be the next to pit. He's down into the red numbers, which means he's in single figures, just gone down to 8%, actually, that car. Why this is important is, even if everybody pits at the same time, because they can all do it on one more pit stop, it just means that Tandy's car is going to be standing still for less time while they replenish the energy. And so long as they can do the 4 Michelin tyres, or will they only do 2? Maybe only do 2 work inside. Get ready for that down in the pit lane, Arjuna, because you might say that. But that's the key, and it goes back to our Porsche keys to the race, which is track position. And track position could be king in the last 50 minutes here.
Exactly. Last year, that was really important for Porsche to get to the lead. They did sacrifice performance a little bit with tires late in the race to get some track position, and that proved to be crucial for them to get the big result. So the playbook's out there. Everyone's seen it done before, and it's possible now with this new surface, which isn't as abrasive. But that said, it's still a bit of a gamble because you do give up performance if you don't change the tires.
What's extraordinary for me is that Tandy and Jaminet have got 22 laps on my chart, both of them, but Tandy's got so much more fuel. I'm not sure that's right, actually, but I'll go back. Jack Aiken just puts his car's fastest lap of the race in, waiting for the number 10 of Philippe Albuquerque to come into the pit lane. He's in 7th position at the moment. Let's do a quick VP Racing update as we're coming down to an hour and 5. I don't want to wait till the hour because I have a strong suspicion that this is going to be very, very busy. Let's go down to the pit lane. The leader in GTD Pro pits for AO Racing.
It is Lauren Heinrich that makes his way into the lane, and 4 Michelin tires, and I think 4 sticker Michelin tires are going to go on to the Dinosaur. Also across from me, the Dex Imaging Wayne Taylor Racing number 10. There is big damage to the right front of that nose cone. You can see a gaping hole in the bodywork, actually, and so while they get to work on changing the Michelin tires, sticker Michelin tires as well, the question remains, are they going to change the nose cone? They have it over the wall, ready to put on, but remember, you can't have all your crew over the wall, so you've got to prioritize in the order of operations. Fuel still being loaded onto the car, and finally they're trying to get to work, I think, on that nose cone, but a bit of delay here. They forgot the tools over the wall. They run back over to the car, off it comes, and getting to work on putting that new nose cone on. Brandon Miller, number 3 Corvette GTD Pro entry, also off of the lane.
It's going to be pretty tight for that leader in GTD Pro. Lauren Heinrich goes back out with an hour and 4 minutes to go. The Dex Imaging car ready to leave as well. Little shake of the head by Philippe Albuquerque. An hour and 3.5 minutes to go. That's going to be very tight for that car. I'm not sure they can get there without a bit of help from some neutralization. I'd like to go about another 5, maybe 10 minutes, if I could, to be absolutely certain, if I'm honest, Ryan. Particularly if you're going to have an elbows out, bare knuckle fight this Sunday afternoon.
Well, I'll tell you this, they could have gone longer and chose not to. And here come a lot of the other GT front runners in both classes. So that would indicate that they feel that they are in the window. It might take a little bit of fuel save, but I don't know that they would have pitted from the lead if they didn't think they could make it the rest of the way, unless there was an issue that we don't know about. But the fact that some of these other GT cars are coming in this lap, I think a 65-minute stint is doable for a GT3 car. It depends on BOP, it depends on the track, but I think they should be in the window, if only barely. And we're approaching the window for GTP, which is where I wonder, John, who blinks first, who covers off for the yellow. That's what one of the advantages of coming in early is you cover yourself from a full course yellow potentially. But there's, of course, some risk, especially if you're further down the order, that you might drop off the lead lap. That has to be factored in too.
And that has happened for Philippe Albuquerque with that stop, where they changed the nose as well. Dragon Speed coming in from the lead of GTD Pro. That's Albert Costa in the bright yellow and rhubarb coloured car. Cerise, we were calling that. The Antisocial Social Club is a garment company. I can see Arjuna rocking some of their gear, actually. I had a look at their website over the weekend. This is a full service. VP Racing fuel going in, right side tyres on, left front tyre going on. I didn't see a left rear going on there. That must have happened first. Can't imagine they'd only do 3. See if we can see that new tyre as it pulls out. That might have to be a question for those guys, whether they did 2, 3 or 4. Maybe they weren't doing that left-hand side front tyre, they were doing something else, but the 2 rights definitely went on. 7.5 seconds between the 2 Porsches. Let's get this VP update, racing update out for you. 7.5 between 6 and 7, the 2 Porsche 963s. leaders just crossed the line. Nick Tandy coming to the line now. Philip Eng for BMW was about 11 seconds behind. We'll wait for him to cross the line to give you the exact gap. It's now 8 seconds. He's closed in. Eng beginning to turn up the wick of 15.3 last time around, 17.4 for the leader. And the gap's come down to 5.5 seconds between the two Porsches, just under 9 seconds between Tandy and Philip Eng, and then 55 seconds back to his teammates. A bit Noah's Ark at the front of the field. Porsche, BMW. Kenton Cook finally prized out of the court of competition Mercedes. He can't continue for the whole race, and finally he's had to admit he could hear them calling them in on the radio. He is out. He's brought the car back in the lead, and this flurry of stops. Well, here's Jack Aitken coming in, still on the lead lap. This will put him right to the end of the lead lap on the 31 Whelen Cadillac. 6th position. He was in 5th. He's gone down to 6th as he is in the pit lane, and this again is a full service. 4 Michelin tyres on the lane. Now they're waiting for the fuel replenishment. Already 70 seconds in the pit lane. Now 75. Oh, sorry, that's percent. 87, 88, 89, 96, 97, 98, 99. They are squeezed 99% in. Hello to Nick Holland. He said, so are we thinking a later, shorter stop for the number 7 Porsche, then off for another chicken dinner? Well, it doesn't matter when they stop, it'll still be shorter, because they both need the same amount of fuel. All the top cars need the same in the car to get to the end. It'll just be less that needs to go in for Nick Tandy. Although Philip Eng has managed to pull back a percentage point, 36 to 35 now, between those two cars. Incredible stuff. And last pit stop still to go. Let's talk strategy with Arjuna, who's got Alexander Sims down in the pit lane.
We were just wondering if the GTD machines could make it to the end, and so let's catch up with one of those cars that's just pitted, Alexander Sims. How close are we talking in terms of fuel to the end with that stop that was just made?
Not desperately close, to be quite honest. It should be comfortable to have a full push. I mean, we will use all of the fuel by doing that, but all calculated and understood by everyone in the pit line. I think we're all on the same sort of strategy.
This race has gone caution-free so far. I can't quite believe I'm saying that, but did you expect this when you talked strategy pre-race?
Well, I think historically the cautions have tended to be in the first sort of 45 minutes or an hour previously, so once we were through that phase, I guess they have historically been less likely, but I mean, anything can happen, right? We still don't know. We could still have one, but yeah, the race is fairly settled now. It's will be down to pure pace pretty much now, and traffic management.
I've talked to some of the GTD teams about the class split kind of impacting their strategy choices, and now not having to think about your GTD Pro machine so much. How's it worked for you, not having to think so much about those GTD machines on class restarts?
Yeah, honestly, it's good. I actually remember back here last year, I was trying to catch the car ahead of me in class, but I had a few GTDs in between, and so you end up having to decide whether to make big risk moves to get ahead of them to get to your next car in class, or just sit there and, you know, accept defeat almost, which doesn't. Neither of them are good solutions. So the class split on the restarts is good. Keeps the racing that we're doing relevant to our race. So it's good. It's a nice step that we've made this year. And yeah, hopefully we can have a clean one to bring our Corvette to the end on the podium, hopefully.
Thank you.
Strategy in the GT classes, and here is the big move now. Will everybody else jump? You have to, because we've had Mathieu Jaminet in and out of the pit lane, 4 Michelin tyres and a replenishment. He was down at 18% of his fuel in the virtual fuel tank. That will be his second and last scheduled stop. He stays in the car. He's off and running. So Tandy surely has got to cover him off here. Marco Wittmann in third now, down to 8%. Tandy at 30%. Philip Eng at Tandy at 31. Philip Eng at 30. Hello to Carsgrove Vroom. Great race. Thanks for explaining the strategies to us. We're doing our best, to be honest, but frankly, I might as well be making it up as I go along because there's so much going on out there. We can only give you the numbers, and hopefully we're reading them in the right way. In comes Marco Wittmann. That's okay. Yes, that makes sense, Ryan, because he was down into single figures. So now it's a game of chicken at the front of the field between Nick Tandy and Philip Eng.
Yeah, there's some risk taken by staying out here. A yellow compresses the field. They would pit after that compression, and then everyone who had pitted that was on the lead lap still would cycle through ahead of them. But they're also taking advantage of being out on hot tires doing fast laps. The last lap for Tandy was only 0.6 off of that car's best of the race, and that was dealing with some traffic, so that's encouraging. And they're doing that while the other cars are bringing their tires up to temperature fresh out of the pits. So that's the risk reward that they're trying to balance there. And maybe they can afford to take a few more risks, John, because they've won the first 3 races of the season. They've got a big points cushion.
Yeah.
And so maybe you do roll the dice a little.
But look at the first flying lap from Mathieu Jaminet of 14.6. That's the fastest lap of the race. And that is half a second away from the race lap record set last year by the Cadillac of Sebastian Bourdais. So he's got out. Porsche Penske Motorsport have played the strategy card here, and we will be looking for the BDO Nose Strategy Award winners as well. It's not just about when you take it in terms of fuel to get to the end, but where you drop the car on the racetrack so that you can take advantage. Maybe they didn't full fuel that car either, I don't think, because he was only showing at just under 90% on the graphic there. It does sometimes take a little while to show the full extent. Now, I'll take that back, 94%. I'm now showing 94%. That's all right, 94, 93. So they didn't short fuel Jaminet, but he's going for it, and he's making the best of the performance potential of those Michelin tyres. Moment or two ago, 2 GTDs having a battle, a GTD and a GTD Pro, and coming off by far the worst at turn 5, because he went off, is Chris Meese down in 6th position in GTD Pro. He was battling with the Lexus RCF. A few people making manoeuvres. That was the number 40 car off again for Wayne Taylor Racing and Louis Delatraz. Trying to work out, it was Jack Hawksworth who was in the RCF GT3 with Chris Meese. Spirit and Wood, Alistair, hello mate. 2 hours and 40 minutes. He says it seems like a random number. Doesn't, why wouldn't they go to a more round number like 100 minutes? Delatraz just taking to the dirt again, coming out of rainy, turn 9. The all-day LMS standard length race was 2 hours and 45. When the United SportsCar Championship came in, it went to 2:40. And that is the standard length of the race. We don't have that many standard length races anymore, to be honest. Leader comes in, Ryan, and this could be the race right here.
Yeah, let's wait and see what they do with tires. At least the left signs are being changed. The fuel is going in, and we know they won't have to put as much in to go the rest of the way as their counterparts. It looks like 4 tires all the way around. Problems on the right front, but they're still waiting on the fuel, so that's the good news there. And the Duaterov just waiting on that energy at this stage. It looks like a pretty good execution there for Porsche Penske, as you would expect. Now they wait to hit the number, and they do not have to fill it all the way up. We'll watch and see how they blend back together.
It is going to be tight because the Number 6 team car is just coming out the final corner, and that effectively is the leading car that have made their last pit stop. Tandy, Tandy's got off on the exit of the pit lane, but he's managed to hold on to it and then gets out in front of his teammate. He was 2 wheels off as he came out, but can he get the tyres up to temp and pressure? This is the opportunity now for Mathieu Jaminet. No team orders here. The 6 car's been the bridesmaid 3 times so far, and he'll go through and take the lead. And that was the tiniest of mistakes from Tandy as he came out of the pit lane. He knew it was going to be tight. There was a little fumble on the right front, but it didn't cost them any time. They were still filling. And straight through for Jaminet and up the road. Let's go down to Arjuna. He can give us some update on the BMWs. The 24 car is in the pit lane now from GTP. The 25's been and gone with interesting strategy there, Arjuna, on this CrowdStrike pit lane report.
I just saw Philip Eng jump out of the 24, and they have put 4 tyres onto that BMW M Hybrid V8. Very interesting, though, that the 25, coming in a lap earlier, put right side only. They've left the left side on the car, John, as that number 24 fires off the pit lane with the electric motor spooled up first, and then the bump start brings the ice into life.
Dragon Speed and AO Racing battling at the front. I think it's funny actually that we've got a GTD Pro Lauren Heinrich in a dinosaur car being chased by Dragon Speed. I can't believe I haven't noticed that before this weekend. There has been quite a lot going on. So Philip Eng rejoins as Renger van der Zande comes into the pit for his last stop. It'll be 2 Porsches and 2 BMWs. Good run for the Team RLL cars, but once again, as it stands, a pole position has not been converted, Ryan, into a win. And Arjuna, I think it was, that came up with this stat. We haven't had a pole position winner in GTP for 2 years, going all the way back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and the GTPs haven't been there for the last couple of events. So that is how long it's been since a pole sitter in GTP went on to the top step of the podium. That is an incredible statistic.
Yeah, unbelievable. July 2023, the last time that the top class was able to convert pole to the victory. This has been a good run, though, it has to be said, for the BMWs. They've shot themselves in the foot a few times, quite frankly, over the past few events. Here, I don't know that they had the long run pace of the Porsches, and they've had a pretty close to flawless race to this point in the 24, and actually the 25's right there too, running not too far behind in 4th. So that's something they can hang their hats on. But while we've been covering off all this strategy in GTP, John, very quietly, Windward Racing has done what it does so often. Philip Ellis and the rest of that team has stolen a march, and they've gotten to the front of the GTD field.
And they've made their last pit stop.
Yeah.
Let's do that update then. Windward from Vassar Sullivan from Ford Multimatic. From Korthoff in the GTD category. There are a couple of pro cars there. Top 6 made up by Conquest, Forte and Wright Motorsport. But it's the Triage competition car that's got the pace at the moment. A 1:22.145 for Riccardo Agostini in the 296 number 023. In GTD Pro, mentioned AO and Dragon Speed, they're just under 10 seconds apart. Albert Costa just closing down the leader by a couple of tenths last time around. He's 11 seconds ahead of the best of the Corvettes. That's the number 3 car, Tonio Garcia in that Corvette, and then Marco Mappelli for Faf Motorsports. It's been a good run for Faf in the Lamborghini Huracan. Maybe they'll need to keep that new colour scheme. They're just half a second ahead of Tommy Milner in the 2nd Corvette. That's your VP in race update. 46 minutes to go. Let's head for a CrowdStrike pit lane report. He's Arjuna pounding the pit lane for us.
Back down at the GTD end of pit lane with Winward Racing. Trying to figure out, Russell Ward, exactly how you guys have jumped up the running order so much. What's been happening out on track?
Yeah, you know, just pure pace, great strategy, awesome pit stops. I mean, you know, if you guys are watching the race, we were in the running order to begin with. So, you know, for us, I mean, you know, we won here last year, and we're going to make it two for back-to-back for this event.
Caution-free. I keep saying that and hoping I'm not jinxing things, but how do you feel heading into this final hour of things? Are you nervous, excited? What's it like being the co-driver rather than the one behind the wheel?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's awesome, and this is such a great team, and the guys put on an awesome effort. I mean, for us, I mean, it's, you know, we're in the spot we want to be in the front, kind of controlling the race. So, you know, let's just see how it unfolds. Hopefully, you know, yellows kind of throw things into the mix. We're happy where we're at.
Good strategy, seeing them rise up the running order.
CrowdStrike pit lane report with Arjuna Kankapati. It was Saturday night's IndyCar racing on the road circuits at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So Roger Penske and all the big bosses from Penske here to support Porsche Penske Motorsport. Tim Cindric was doing a bit of broadcasting on the Indy races as well. I heard his mellifluous tones while catching up on the myriad amount of motorsport that we've had over the weekend. So a straight fight now, Ryan. 5.5 seconds. Jaminet versus Tandy. Philip Eng and Marco Whitman, not exactly bit part players, they're still there. Nothing in it as far as the energy is concerned between those two cars. So this is the race at the front of the field. Meantime, the Heart of Racing Aston number 23 is back and back up to speed after that problem with the tyre earlier on from contact. Ross Good sits in 10th position. It's a shame we can't hear that V12 engine from the onboard. It sounds like it's running on electric power at the moment. Obviously it doesn't have a hybrid. It is a very sweet thing to behold. I've been next to the dyno when that car has been running. Sounds like I'd say that was a Cadillac engine that we can hear behind us. So where's your money? BMW unable at the moment to convert that 4th consecutive pole position. Nick Tandy versus Mathieu Jaminet. 6 seconds between them. Dries Van Zoor's just put that car's fastest lap of the race in. He was the fastest man in qualifying, but only by 0.005 of a second over the car that he's now leading, although that was the other Matt. That was Matt Campbell who qualified at IMSA Radio. Let me know where you think the top step of the podium, who you think is going to be on the top step of the podium, should I say. So Tom Blomqvist and Colin Brown, the last pole sitters in GTP to win, pretty much 2 years ago. That was the number 60 Acura before MSR disappeared and returned. EO and Dragon Speed 10 seconds apart at the front of GTD Pro. Phil Ellis only 2.5 seconds ahead of Jack Hawksworth. The Mercedes ahead of the Lexus there. This is not over by any stretch of the imagination. Do not write your headlines now, dear journalists. You just get a feel there might be another twist of fate somewhere in the next 41 minutes and 33, 32, 31 seconds. Ryan Marie.
Yeah, you just don't know, do you? Plenty of time still for another chapter to unfold. Right now, Sebastian Priaulx dealing with some damage to the rear of the 64 Ford Mustang, and what a difference a year can make. Remember, Seb was part of the winning lineup for AO Racing with Lauren Heinrich last year. Lauren and AO trying to go back-to-back. They're currently leading in class once again with a pretty significant advantage, about 11 seconds over Dragon Speed. So great pit work from them to get to the lead and then consolidate it. I think the battle to keep an eye on might be in GTD, John. Philip Ellis and Jack Hawksworth,
great.
only 2 seconds between them, and they're running very similar lap times, but I would give the edge to Jack over the last handful of laps.
Yeah, that one's nowhere near done. That's two very, very good drivers, both in attack and defense modes. Jack Hawksworth, he'd be like a dog with a bone there. He can probably just see the back of the lead car.
Extra motivation for him too. Remember, these two at Sebring were fighting for the win late in the race, and there was a little hip and shoulder, and Philip Ellis moved by his own admission. Jack out of the way. Jack wasn't exactly thrilled. So that'll be in the back of their minds.
You hope that those things get sorted out and don't carry on race to race. But having been around race car drivers for 2/3 of my life, I would say, which is a very long time now, they have the memory of an elephant when it comes down to somebody who's wronged them or they feel has wronged them. They can quote chapter and verse of which circuit, what gear, how many revs they were pulling, who the third young lady in the red sweater was halfway down the front straight. It's all there, and it doesn't go away. Now, what I will say about IMSA is because quite a lot of the teams are sharing facilities down at the Apex hospitality area, and hello to the hard-working team there. The opportunity to bump into somebody getting a cup of coffee or a bacon sandwich, or muesli for the drivers, of course, and be able to talk it through is actually there's a lot more opportunity. It's more prevalent that those things do get sorted out, rather than being left to fester because they only ever see each other back out on the track because they're confined to barracks, as it were, in team meetings and trailers, etc. That gap's come down just a tiny bit. A little bit of traffic for Phil Ellis, having to get by the Inception Ferrari during the last lap, and now, of course, Jack Hawksworth will have to do the same thing. Nick Tandy has found the fast button. Had a bizarre incident with Nick earlier on this weekend when he was coming up over the top of the Rahal Straight towards the top of the corkscrew. Left-hand side, driver's door pops open, he slowed right down, came in the pit lane, popped the right-hand side door open, jumped out. We thought, oh, has there been a little electrical fire or something like that? It was actually the fire extinguisher had gone off. And he wanted to be out of there quickly. That was sorted. 2.6 seconds now, half a second taken from the lead by Nick Tandy. Do we start playing the Jaws music? It kind of feels a little bit like we've seen this storyline before, Ryan, and the leaders are on the same part of the track, and Mathieu Jaminet has got 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe GT cars. He's passed a couple going up the inside, but here comes Tandy, and he's closed right up on the number 32. That is the caught-off Seth Lucas third in-class car. Now the number 65 Chris Meese driven Ford Multimatic car. And Nick Tandy has got target acquired.
He has. He took half a second off on the last lap. I'm really curious what the gap will be this time, given they both had to navigate quite a bit of traffic that last time around. It was 2+ seconds. It's down to 1.6 now. So Tandy is reeling in Mathieu Jaminet, but will they be allowed to race? These are two teammates at the front of this field, and the 7 has done, well, all of the winning so far this year. You know that Jaminet and company will be desperate to get a win of their own for that side of the garage.
Track temperature up to 115 Fahrenheit, that's 46, just creeping up gently. The air temperature is still pretty lovely, actually. 16 Celsius is 61 Fahrenheit, so that's temperate. The heat in the cockpit of both of those Porsche Penske motor sport cars will be, well, probably twice that. And not just from the ambient, it is really heating up at the front of the field again. Traffic caught at the wrong time by the leader. Jaminet held up for 2-3 corners as he comes through. That's the DXDT. No, it's not, excuse me. It's the 48 BMW. Saw the green flash on the back of that car. My apologies, the Paul Miller Racing car. And across the line this time, Ryan Marine's got the stopwatch on it, and it is
just half a second between the top two, and don't sleep on Dries Vanthoor either. He's been reeling them both in. He still has 10 seconds to find, but 35 minutes to do it. If these two start squabbling, and that's really, I think, where the Porsche Penske Brain Trust need to get in here and sort out how they want to handle this, because if these two start to fight for position, Dries Vanthoor will be there in a hurry.
Championship leader chases championship second. You said no team owners, and I agree that they'll be allowed to race early in the season, and a big lead for the number 7 car. But I'll tell you now, Tandy will want to keep the win streak going, and he's right with him. And again, Rainy Curve has been the undoing of the leader. Opportunity for a pass here down in turn 11 if they both go around the Inception Ferrari, which they do. Tandy squeezed onto the curb for a moment by the Inception car, but holds onto it. Ryan's got his stopwatch out again as they head towards the Mission Foods Bridge and the end of the lap.
This time, Jaminet able to eke out just a few tenths of a second, up to 8 tenths now from half a second. So the traffic that time initially held him up, but then it broke his way, and that's helped give a little bit of breathing room to Mathieu Jaminet.
Fastest lap of the race is to that number 6 car, a 1:14.637. I'm rather surprised, actually, we haven't broken last year's lap record set by the Cadillac, a 1:14.1. Back in 2023, the GTP lap record was a 1:14.77. Last year it was brought down to a 1:14.196 by the LMDH Cadillac. Final pit stop for Chris Meese. It's not been the best of weekends for Ford. They've been seeing all the way through that the Mustang was not perhaps best suited to this track. Sebastian Priaulx, 8th in GTD Pro. Actually, he's right with Marvin Kirchhofer now as well for 7th and 8th. And it won't matter to Sebastian at 7th and 8th. He will give it his all, I'll tell you that now. The man from Guernsey. His father, Andy Priaulx, MBA with us. The for performance guest commentator for the Mustang Challenge. Congratulations to all the teams for giving us some excellent entertainment there. Through to another lap completed, coming down to the half-hour mark to go. Turn 5 up the hill. More traffic for the leaders. And in amongst that lot, we've got the battle at the front of the GTD Pro. Marco Mappelli is in there for Faf. We've got Antonio Garcia in there, and that's who they're up to now. It's like Tommy Milner, that's actually Tommy Milner. Mappelli's just a little bit further up the road. In the red and white Motul colours. Faf might have to keep hold of those colours. The other issue that they've got is they are catching a GTP car as well in the shape of Philippe Albuquerque for Wayne Taylor Racing. Now, he's not in this fight. He's off the lead lap and about to go 2 laps down to these 2 Porsches. But that, without a bit of help, that car is going to be a lot more difficult for both Mathieu Jaminet and Nick Tandy to get through.
I think that's Delatraz actually in the sister car, which is trying to hang on to the lead lap, actually.
Yeah.
So that
shout.
makes it even
so
more
he's
difficult.
Going to fight. Yes,
unquestionably. Because the yellow brings him back in.
Yeah, exactly. He won't want to give it up. Mathieu Jaminet is good. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Every time I think I've got 5 cars lengths, I catch somebody at the top of the hill. Roger Penske, as impassive as ever, not a flicker of emotion or anything that can be read from his body language. Matt Campbell listening for anything that he can add, or as the leader goes down the inside of the Corvette of Antonio Garcia, that is Garcia. So now they've got Albert Costa and Lauren Heinrich. They're about 10 seconds apart. A little bit further up the road, more traffic ahead of them.
And John, Dries Vanthoor is coming. It was 10 seconds a few laps ago. It's only 5.6 seconds now from Dries to Tandy. Only another 0.6 actually up to the race leader. So these two need to pick up the pace and maybe get some help here from Louis Delatraz, who might be hampering their progress a little bit. This is bringing that BMW, the pole-sitting car, into the equation.
We know that car has got 1 lap pace. We know Dries Vanthoor's got 1 lap pace. Well, actually, that's not fair, because he did 9 fast laps in qualifying. He only got the pole position on his 10th out of 11. Now, just looking at the virtual fuel tank, they're all pretty similar. But you are right, Dries is coming. Took half a second out of the 2 Porsches last time. While we keep an eye on this in the Ford Performance Global Broadcast Centre, let's check in with our CrowdStrike pit lane reporter. Arjuna is watching what's going on very carefully down at Porsche Penske Motorsport. What can you tell us?
I made my way over to the pit box, where I don't think there's any specific emotion that you can put the crew as having right now, but there's nervous anticipation maybe. And John, a rather remarkable statistic that I noted down coming into the weekend. This number 7 crew's been almost perfect this season. Qualifying, they've lost 15 points before coming into qualifying here at Laguna Seca, and they've lost 4 endurance cut points. So think about that. 3 races complete, and they dropped a total of 19 points to the rest of their title challengers.
Down the inside at the top of the hill. Great start, Arjuna, thank you. And that is a great move from Jaminet. Buys him some breathing room. Tandy's held up. Vanthoor can't quite see these two. Tandy goes to the inside and gets the nose chopped off the front of his car from Delatraz. Now Delatraz has lost the lead lap now, but he's still fighting. Not sure if Delatraz and Jaminet are better buds than Delatraz and Nick Tandy. Big lose in the middle of the corner from Delatraz. He's struggling for grip on the Wayne Taylor Racing number 40 Cadillac. Meantime, Jaminet is making an escape at the moment. And I'm thinking right about now that Louis Delatraz's name has been scratched off the Tandy Christmas card list. They'll retain the lead. Whatever happens here, they will retain the lead if they finish in these positions. Oh, Delatraz is really pushing hard. Got very squirrely going through the dip on the apex of turn number 6 going up the hill. Now up to the front of the field of the GTD Pro cars. Dragon Speed. Now can Nick Tandy use some of this traffic to his benefit to get past Louis Delatraz? Tandy goes down the inside, puts his car there right alongside. That was brilliant from the Englishman. Didn't give any opportunity for Delatraz to close the door. Daniel Leocata from Italy. Daniele Leocata. Ciao Daniele. I'm not sure that he's going to be a Delatraz fan as well as Vanthoor goes through. So that was useless harshness from Delatraz. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch. Still to come, we'll be nominating our BDO Nose Strategy Award, one for GTP and one for the GT classes. And then we'll be heading into some analysis of the race for the Michelin post-race tech, hashtag Michelin PRT at IMSA Radio. Vantoor's the winner here. Vantoor is undoubtedly the winner. He's in within 3 seconds of the leader and within a second of Tandy now. And that has played out beautifully for Team RLL and BMW. And Vantoor is not one to let that opportunity slip by.
No, he'll put his head down and he'll go for it here for sure. The thing that's impressing me is in that first stint, you'll remember, John, he had the lead from pole. He built a lead, but it went away late in the going, which made me think maybe the Porsches were a little bit better on the long run. But we're not seeing that kind of drop-off from Dries here in this stint. He's been able to match, if not exceed, the Porsches pretty much regularly up to this point. And if he can keep the car under him, he's got some time. He's not that far away from Tandy now, just about a second or so that he needs to find.
And Tandy knows that Vantoor is coming. He's been on the radio. Our producer up in Concord at NASCAR Productions, Aaron, has been listening in, and he's been asking for regular updates about that gap back to the BMW. Porsche, BMW, Acura, Cadillac, JDC Porsche ahead of Wayne Taylor Cadillac. Ross Gunn has got the Heart of Racing Aston Martin Valkyrie back into 10th position. They've dropped a couple of laps after that cut tyre. That was after contact, of course, and then Colin Brown rounds off the 11 GTP cars. It's Porsche for AO Racing, possibly going back-to-back here at IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. The question will be, does Roxy get the gold tooth that Rexy has had if that purple car comes through to win? Dragon Speed second, Chevy Corvette third, and in GTD 3 seconds now between Phil Ellis and Jack Hawksworth at the head of that field. The 57 dark blue and black Windward Mercedes against the bumblebee coloured yellow and black Lexus RCF GT3, the number 12 car of Jack Hawksworth. It's the VP in race update. We're getting excited about this, Ryan. There's still 23 minutes to go.
Oh yeah, don't write those stories yet. Like you said earlier, it's not done yet. Vantoor again quicker than Tandy on that last lap. What was once a second is now 3/4 of a second. He's done the hard work erasing the 10-second deficit, but now it gets even harder actually, because he's got to find a way past a guy who's undefeated on the season.
That's the unmistakable sound of the Mercedes AMG engine climbing the hill from 4 to 5. Philip Ellis. Oh, that sounds so violent every time you hear the bottom of the car grounding out as they go through turn 6. Richard Kelly wants to know this. He's in the middle of Ireland. Says, quick question. Thanks for the kind words about the broadcast, by the way. It takes a team, it takes a village actually. Camera operators have been stunning this weekend. Not all of the pictures that we've seen, you've seen, but we have missed nothing at all thanks to the eyes of our camera operators. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Do IMSA operate a different BOP or criteria rule set from WEC? In the first 3 World Endurance Champion races, the Porsches have looked a bit breathless compared to the speed and dynamism on display here at Laguna. It's a good question. There are some detailed differences in aero between the Porsches that run here and the Porsches that run in the FIA World Endurance Championship. In fact, all the cars are slightly different. The reason for that is the initial homologations were done in 2 different wind tunnels. The FIA WEC was using the Hinville, formerly Sauber wind tunnel, whereas in the US, all the cars are benchmarked at Windcheer up in the Carolinas. Now actually, the infill wind tunnel is not available for outside use at the moment because Audi are renovating it, having taken over that organisation. So everybody's had to come over here to Windshire, which is why we've had the Toyotas in there, Evo and various other of the WEC cars out in the States, which caused a bit of excitement, as you might imagine. The answer to that question is not really. The basic pillars of the BOP are the same. What you have to remember is that there are no LMDH cars other than the Aston Martin Valkyrie, which is in its very early days, and there are no hybrid LMH cars either here. So there's no Ferraris, no Toyotas, and I know that shouldn't make a difference, but obviously that does mean there's a different type of competition going on here. I mentioned this earlier on as well. I do think because of the way the equalisation formula goes, it's about how much of your potential performance, your car's potential performance, you can wring out. Now, the WEC have just changed that a little bit this year, and they've changed the way they calculate, and the algorithm is used for that. And I'm not sure, I'm going to say I'm not sure that WEC's gone the right way, because the idea was not to hold back teams that were doing a good job or drivers who were particularly either frugal or fast or both. However, the new way of the WEC calculating their BOP does seem to be taking some of that into consideration. Now, in fairness, we haven't discussed this with the WEC. We tried to get with their technical director at Qatar. It wasn't possible, but we'll grab him at Le Mans and have a chat with him. You've heard his voice before on our airwaves. Here in IMSA, there are changes race to race. They tend to be less aggressive, and also I think the technical department here they are doing it their own way, let's be honest, but also I think that just the nature of the circuits here, they are not the billiard table smooth tracks of the FIA WEC. So I hope that sort of answers your question, Richard, and we will try and sit down with WEC Technical for Le Mans, one of our inside stories. Hello to Safe Phil. Don't curse it now, Phil. Jamming here by 2.8 seconds. Dries Vanthoor. The charge towards the back of Nick Tandy seems to have been slightly held up a little bit, and now the interest is further back down the field, where Jack Aiken is trying to pull up to Renger van der Zande, two mostly red cars just heading through turn 4 towards turn 5, Ryan Murray.
I've been watching this battle develop here over the last few laps, and Aiken doing a nice job starting to close in on the Acura. It's not been a banner weekend for Acura, I think it's safe to say, nor for Cadillac for that matter, actually. You see the three Cadillacs, 6th, 7th, and 8th, all in a row, but Aiken trying to salvage a little bit of something here as he's making some headway. Right now, 1.1 seconds in arrears, and there's some traffic up the road that could break his way. That could make a big difference, as it did for Dries Vanthoor in his pursuit of Nick Tandy a little bit earlier.
Traffic again, providing the challenge for these GTP cars. Nick Tandy trying to fight his way onto the back of that red and white striped car. Jaminet goes past the Faf Lamborghini. Marco Mappelli sitting in 4th position. Tandy also had to go by, I think that was the JDC car as well there. But now there's only one car between them, and again Tandy gets the worst of the traffic. Earlier on it seemed to be Jaminet who was catching traffic going into and out of the corkscrew and down through Rainey into turn 10. That's how that gap closed down, and now it's opened up again. But it was a 17-0 last time around to a 16-1 for Nick Tandy. What has the 7 car got in hand, if anything? Connor Hudson. But the Porsche cars are the same in IMSA and WEC, aren't they? Looks to be quicker this year in IMSA. So would that be a case of the WEC system not being as effective as IMSA? Because I do believe IMSA has closer racing. Fewer cars, fewer manufacturers, let's not forget. Far fewer manufacturers and far fewer cars, almost half the number of cars in IMSA. So less spread and variety, of course. And so I think there's no easy answer to that question. Chad Depew says, I stopped watching after they added the sensor on the rear axle. What's the point of racing well if you just be punished for it? Well, that's the point of the sensor, to be honest, Chad. What that does is make sure everybody's playing by the rules, and if you say that there's a 750 horsepower maximum, everybody's got 750 horsepower. Whether it's all coming from an internal combustion engine or whether at various times you're getting hybrid boost, it only ever can be that amount of horsepower. And racing well, as you've put it, adequately there, brilliantly, is exactly what that promotes, because you have got to, as a team, as a driver, as a set of engineers, as a set of tacticians and strategists, you have got to get as close to 100% of your potential performance in that car onto the track for 2 hours and 40 minutes, for 6 hours, for 8 hours, for 10, 12 or 24 hours. And that's why racing well is rewarded with this system, both in the WEC and here in IMSA. Gone are the days when you were worried about how much was going in and who had bigger engines and all of that sort of stuff. We're now measuring what's coming out, and at that point you can then benchmark all the cars on their aero package, on their engine performance, and leave it to the drivers and the teams to race. 12.5 minutes to go. Let's take a CrowdStrike pit lane report. He's Arjuna.
Well, I was just catching up with Andrea Caldarelli, who quickly ran back off to the pit wall because Tommy Milner's Corvette just dived into pit lane. We knew the Corvettes were going to be very close on fuel. Andrea, I know you guys are thinking of podiums up for grabs here.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really looking for the number 3, because in the last 2 laps we closed like 3 seconds. So we are wondering what's going on. So yeah, podium looking, but we'll see what's happening. Still 12 minutes to go. But Marco's pace looks strong at the moment. Not sure what the other are doing for energy, but we are good until the end. So,
partnership with Motul, you have a new livery. Fan voted for this particular round. Still a little bit of plaid on the rear wing. Has it been nice having the support from Motul here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really like the livery. It's a bit of like a vintage Motul livery, which is great. But yeah, we still have some plaid on the back, always there. So, and it's even in my helmet this race. I just make sure we keep the tradition.
I'll let you get back to the pit wall. Thank you.
Our journey, you might want to take a walk down to Inception Racing. Fred Scharndorf's lap times are going out. I think they've got a problem. That car dropping back lap after lap. They did a 38.5 last time around. That car's best at 22.6. It should be further up the field than 15th in GTD, and it's the last of the running cars, and that puts it third in the Bronze Cup as well for that yellow Ferrari 296. And Neil Verhagen has just taken his final track warning in the number 1 Paul Miller Racing team as he comes into the pits. That was at turn 5. I did say there had been discussions about that. And off go Dragon Speed. Dragon Speed's been off. That's the second place GTD Pro car. Just as the leader was coming to put a lap on it. So, yeah, and that was Schandorf ahead of him as well, going very slowly. So that now has opened the gap in GTD Pro. It's Lauren Heinrich for the pink AO Racing Porsche. Roxy leads now by 11 seconds. Second to third, 18 seconds. Third to fourth with the FAF Motorsport car closing in on Antonio Garcia, who must be fuel saving, I think. He's only 1.5 seconds. So the third step on the podium up for grabs there. GTD, Phil Ellis has stretched out to 5 seconds over Jack Hawksworth. Seth Lucas is about another 30 seconds, 20 seconds further back. Ryan Marine, Louis Delatraz and the Wayne Taylor Racing guys 7th and 8th. Whelen Cadillac 6th. Acura 7th with Renger van der Zande in the 93 car. That is the Honda Racing Run car. Then the 2 BMWs, then the 2 Porsches. Back down to 1.4 seconds. Tandy is not done yet with 9 minutes to go.
No, he's charging. He took over a second off of the lead on the last lap. That was traffic affected, of course. Really interesting about some potential concerns in GTD. We got a glimpse on the graphics, at least, of the energy remaining, which we don't have access to unless the graphic is on the screen, and everything looked copacetic there. We heard from Alexander Sims earlier. He felt like they were well within their window when they made the pit stop. If they are, for whatever reason, in trouble, remember that the AO Racing car actually pitted earliest amongst the GTD Pro cars. We were talking about it at the time, whether or not they were comfortably in their window or not. So that's something to file away potentially. But it seems like everyone should be fine, and we'll have to try and stay on top of that. And the final thought I had real quick, real shame there for the Inception Racing crew that they have an issue. Arjuna, oh, that was really close, just up ahead. But Arjuna said they did know there was a problem, but they don't know what it is just yet. They had that issue where they had to pit early, and that really put them off their strategy, but they had done a good job to recover.
Battle for the lead coming through. Traffic goes by the caught-off car again. And now in behind the number 31, Whelen Cadillac. That's Jack Aiken trying to stay on the lead lap. And Tandy's right there. This is as close as they have been for some time. What a run. What a run that's been for these two cars. And they are giving us the entertainment we expected. Only 2 seconds further back, Dries Van Tor is there. So they can't afford to mess about here. And it was very tight down at the first corner. Arjuna passing some information through to you there, Ryan, about fuel loads for some of the GT cars.
He checked in with AO Racing. They say they're good to the end. They pitted at the earliest portion of the window, so if they're good, everyone else should be good on fuel as well.
Right. Let's hope. Heading under the tyre rack bridge. The top 3 are on the same piece of track. My goodness. It's happened again. We haven't required neutralisation to bring it all back. 2 Porsches, 1 BMW. We've had 2 hours and 34 minutes of green flag racing, and the wick has been turned right up. Top 3 within a second, over the top of one of the most famous parts of any track in the world, the corkscrew. And we've still got somewhere in the region of 4, possibly 5 laps to go. A grandstand finish at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. There's so much at stake here, so many storylines. Tandy in the 7 crew. Perfect at the checkered flag this year. The 2 Matties in the 6 car, Jaminet and Campbell. Second place finishes behind their teammates for the season. And in third right now, the perfect pole sitter and qualifier, Dries Vanthoor, the fastest man in IMSA this year, trying to break a 2-year streak of the GTP pole sitter not winning a race. It's all to play for, Ryan, and we've got 5 minutes left, and traffic will be a factor. Pick your passes, we said in the Porsche keys to the race. I might as well tear that up now. There's no way that you can hang about here. You've got to go for it, and Jack Aitken's trying to stay on the lead lap and brought these 3 back together.
As he has every right to do, of course. That's part of racing in the States. You're going to fight and scrap and claw to stay on the lead lap and hope to get a yellow. Doesn't really matter with less than 5 minutes to go, but he'll still do it, and that's brought everyone close together. Do have one other fuel observation. This is in GTD. Both Ellis and Hawksworth they should be fine, but they're right on the fringe. That's something to keep an eye on here in the final 5 minutes.
BDO no strategy award, and finally the Whelan car pulls out of the way. I think Jack Aitken realised he'd rather finish in 6th place. All sorts of things could have happened there. BDO no strategy, 1 for GTP, 1 for the GT classes combined. Oh my goodness, who do you pick in GTP? Have a think about it, gentlemen. I'll come back to you in a moment. Your nominations for GTP and the BDO Nose Strategy Award, and 1 from the combined GT classes, if you will. But right now, we cannot take our eyes off what's going on at the head of the field. I'm pretty certain all of the other cars on track know what's going on at the moment. Bizarrely, one of the GTD BMWs has just held up Dries Vanthoor, but he brakes super late at the turn 11 and gets all of that back. Jaminet, these last 3.5 minutes will be ticking down as if it was an hour. It is so tense. Top 3 together. Right, Arjuna. BDO No Strategy Award. Let's have a GT nomination. Either GTD or GTD Pro, doesn't matter. Who do you reckon has played the strategy cards best today in the street-based cars?
It's a bit of a toss-up, if you ask me, between the Winward Racing number 57 and the AO Racing 77, because AO Racing, you know, this dominant gap that they built up in the GTD Pro class, a lot down to their strategy execution, and similarly for Winward Racing, roaring their way through the field, partially due to the strategy. BDO knows nominations for me.
GT nominations, Ryan. By the way, Fred Schandorf's had to come in the pit lane for a mechanical black flag in the Inception Ferrari. Are you going to go with Arjuna, or are you going to throw somebody else? Just it's almost never the winners in this category, but I'll take what you give me.
I think Pfaff deserves some consideration. They've played this pretty well to put themselves in contention to fight for a podium. They're only 7/10 off of it right now, so I'd give them some consideration. But I want to wait and see what happens in GTD, because again, Ellis and Hawksworth, it's pretty tight for them on fuel.
And what about GTP, as we'll get the white flag next time around? The top 3 are together. Does it come from one of those 3 teams, or have you seen something else further back in the GTP that is worthy of note?
No, I think it's the 6 crew. They did the shorter stop, or they pitted earlier, let's say, than the sister car, and that jumped both the sister car and the 24 BMW, and it got them to the front. And I think that, from the GTP perspective, was the move of the race strategically.
Judy, are you going to argue with that in GTP, or are you going to go for one of the other 10 teams?
Ryan made a very compelling case, one that I struggle to find any argument with, so I'll go with him. Number 6, Porsche Penske Motorsport, my pick for BDO Knows strategy call of the race.
Coming down to the last 2.25 mile, and Nick Tandy is right under the wing of his teammate as they get on the throttle out of turn 11, through to start the last lap. The BMW is there maybe to pick up the pieces. Dries Vanthoor's not been this close. Nobody's been this close to the Porsches this year. There's almost a touch into the hairpin. Tandy goes wide. Here comes Vanthoor, sticks the nose in and then has to pull back out again. Past the Liquid Molly Turner car through turn 3. And there's a car between the two Porsches now. Tandy's got to go down the inside of turn 4. Makes it. Slight hesitation on the throttle from the leader as he came out of turn 4. Might give Tandy a look at 5. No, it's not close enough. Vanthoor's following them through. This BMW, you know, I fancy this to get between the two Porsches before the end of this race. If they're this close going into turn 11, Vanthoor's going down the inside of Tandy. If Tandy's this close going into turn 11, he's probably down the inside of the leader. They've got the Motul car right in front of them, the FAF car. That has done so well to get up to 4th position in GTD Pro. 2 more corners. Tandy's got to pick a side. I think he's picked the wrong one. Where's Vanthoor? Here he comes. The side-by-side they touch. Tandy and Vanthoor side-by-side, hip and shoulder. It's going to be a Porsche Penske Motorsport car that wins, but it's the 6 team from Tandy in second for the 7. It will be Dries Vanthoor, I think, in 3rd place. He's off at turn 11 at the moment. Is the car damaged? And will the 7 crew hold on to it? Here comes the... Now, he's got broken steering, I think. No, he's fine. The 24 car I'm talking about. And he will get to the line in 3rd position. Already, we've seen the winner in GTD go through. Philip Ellis for Winward Racing. Good first stint as well by Russell Ward. And in GTD Pro, we're waiting for the pink Porsche of Lauren Heinrich, who's finished off the race. And Roxy takes a win for AO Racing. Well, drama to the line there. I'm sure that will be looked at. Let's go down to Arjuna for some reaction from the pit wall.
See if I can steal Matt Campbell, who just departed the box from the Porsche Penske Motorsport crew. But John, I've got to tell you, I was standing here through those final couple of corners and they didn't know whether to run to the wall or not. There was so much tension, so much excitement, and it's still Porsche Penske Motorsports that maintains a perfect record in 2025, albeit with the number 6 rather than the number 7 coming out on top.
Well, there was considerable contact there as they came down to turn 11. Ryan and I'll keep our eyes on that and watch the screens for any potential penalties that comes out of that. Matt Campbell is here to talk to us in this CrowdStrike pit lane report.
He's still celebrating with the rest of the team, but I will steal a word with Matt Campbell as soon as I can. Race winner here at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. I caught up with him before the race, and it's good to be able to catch up with him now. Matt, congratulations on the victory. How does it feel? Porsche Penske Motorsports 4 from 4 this year, number 6 finally out on top.
Yeah, good to finally get a really good result, getting a win for car 6 for the first time this season. So obviously keeping this streak going of podiums, which is really, really important for PPM and the championship for the big picture. So super excited. Wasn't the easiest race there. I think we for sure lacked a bit of speed to our sister car and also the 24, but nevertheless, thank you to the team and for the strategy, obviously coming out on top.
Talk to me about that tension coming towards the end of the race there. Contact through the final couple of corners. There was always something building there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, super close racing, and yeah, I'm just glad we weren't a part of it. So Mathieu did a fantastic job making no mistakes there towards the end of the race in his final 2 stints, and he did what we needed to do.
Well, I think for many, the number 6, the recipient of BDO No's strategy call of the race, and he's going to head down towards that victory lane and celebrate with the rest of the number 6 Porsche Penske Motorsports crew.
No further action with the contact between the BMW number 24 of Dries Vanthoor and Nick Tandy in the number 7. Tandy out of the car. A classic IMSA race, says James O'Donnell. How intense do you like it? Just like that. In GT, our BDO Knows Strategy, BDO Knows Strategy Award. I think it's going to have to go to FAF, because they did live with the big dogs there, only 2 seconds off the podium in GTD Pro, and I suspect they'll be keeping that Lamborghini Huracan in the red and white throwback livery. Marco Bumpelli and the rest of the team doing a great job. So the number 9 Lamborghini FAF Motorsports, again, they made sure that their pit stops were perfect. And just to recap the GTP, that was that cheeky little pit stop strategy from the number 6 there. Didn't do the same as the Porsche Penske number 7. Let's have a quick interview before we give you the full results.
I have Klaus Bachler here, driver of course, Roxy, who is now a winner in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. A big gap at the end of the race, caution-free. What's going through your mind?
Yeah, it's incredible. I'm really happy. I mean, now we won with Roxy also. The team won 3 races in a row now. Long Beach, we were not there, Lauren and me, but the team did it, and it's incredible job from them. The car was so good today, and yes, the gap was big, but in the end we made 0 mistakes. I had a good start, and so happy. Now we are leading the championship, but it's still 7 races to go, so it's a long season ahead.
I've got to ask you, do you prefer driving Roxy or Rexy?
It's a difficult question. I mean, we won with Rexy in Sebring, the 12 hours now, and now the Laguna Seca race here with Roxy, so let's see.
Good answer. Not picking a sibling as AR Racing stand on top.
Can't pick between your children or your dinosaurs. The unofficial results, subject to post-race technical inspection, sees the two Matthews, Jaminet and Campbell, Mathieu, Jaminet and Manny Campbell. It continues the winning streak for Porsche and for Porsche Penske Motorsport, but the car that's been second in the previous races takes the top step of the podium this time, ahead of the championship leaders, which they will hold as they leave the WeatherTech SportsCar Championship Monterey event here at WeatherTech Raceway. On the podium again for BMW, Dries Van Toor and Philip Eng. Still no pole sitter has won in GTP since 2023. Incredible stuff. GTD Pro, Lauren Heinrich brought home the win after Klaus Bachler started off with Roxy. It was the Ferrari number 81 quick car, qualified on pole position, Albert Costa and Giacomo Altoe, and third for Corvette with Tonio Garcia and Alexander Sims. And meantime, in GTD, Phil Ellis and brought home the Winward Racing Mercedes number 57 that had been started by Russell Ward. Jack Hawksworth was the man who finished it all off for Vassar Sullivan in the Lexus number 12. And in third place, Conquest Racing came through. Quiet race for them in the 34 Ferrari, the blue and white machine. But they did the job and come home in third on the podium. We'll hand the PA over to the ceremonies and formalities, but before I do, thank you very much to our junior. He's going to stay on headset and with the radio mic as he tries to get us some more interviews. Thank you to Ryan Marina. Last thought for you before we go to post-race tech. That's how to do a motor race, isn't it?
I'd like to do that again. Can we do it again tomorrow, John?
Do you know what? I'd say yes. In fact, I wouldn't have put the checkered flag out. I'd have let them run for another couple of hours. That was brilliant stuff. Ryan, thank you very much indeed. See you at the next one. And for those of you listening, get yourself onto RS2 IMSA Radio via IMSARadio.com. We're going to wrap up our video and international feed portion of the show, but we have to say thank you to all of our technical staff, particularly the camera operators and everyone on site in the heat in California, but also of course to the IMSA crew on site and our NASCAR productions team in Concord. And across the weekends we've had Rob, Peter and Tim in London, making sure that IMSA Radio went to air as well. The responsible adult, as always, was Eve Hewitt, responsible for our commercial partnerships to get us on the air, and my broadcast colleagues Ryan Marine, and congratulations, breaking his duck for the first time as part of our IMSA Radio team, Arjuna Kankapati, and we'll all be back on the other side of a quick breath for Michelin post-race take. Hashtag Michelin PRT at IMSA Radio. Thanks for joining us this Sunday. What a great race we've had here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Once again, IMSA has delivered.